So hey, what's up guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we are gonna see. What if Naruto saved Karin and had hidden healing powers? Movie 1. If you want movie 2 please comment down. Please leave a like and do subscribe to this channel, also share with your friends. Without wasting any more time, let's begin. The 44th training ground was a scary place to every shinobi who heard rumors of it. Whether you were an experienced jonin or an anbu, there was no doubt the name of the place would be enough to send shivers down anyone's spine. It was infamous among the great villages for the dangers lurking inside of it. In the forest there were large snakes capable of eating a whole house in one gulp, giant centipedes that were large as buses, and bears that were as big as Konoha's academy. Not only did its reputation of having oversized animals that loved to eat humans, it was infamous for being the hardest part of the Chunin exams whenever Konoha hosted them. Today was one of those days, and it has been over a few hours since the exams began in the forest. We are taken to a certain part of the forest, somewhere along the southwest side, and we see a genin team hopping through the woods. Team 7 from Konohagakure were on a mission in search of a heaven scroll which was needed alongside an earth scroll, so they can pass this part of the Chunin exams. The team consisted of a girl with bright pink hair, two boys of one which had raven hair and onyx eyes, while the last member, a blonde, spiky-haired boy wearing a horrendous orange jumpsuit. Sakura Haruno, Sasuke Uchiha and Naruto Uzumaki were their names. Geez man, we've been hopping for over an hour and haven't found squat. I just hope the other teams didn't get eaten by a snake or something. Naruto declared incredulously. Quiet down Naruto, maybe they're just taking a stealth approach because remember what that proctor said. It's an anything goes battle. Sakura quipped. Exactly dope, keep it down, you might scare off the other teams or worse, attract them to us with that loud mouth of yours, and if that happens, we're letting you fight them. Sasuke said. Naruto glared at Sasuke in annoyance, but he knew his teammate was right. He did have a loud mouth, and frankly he had hoped any of the other teams didn't hear him, but wait, that was a good thing, right? You want the enemy to come to you. The team had been on the move for a good few hours, and Sasuke, being the one their sensei said had the qualities of a good leader, decided that they should rest for a bit. "HN, we should rest guys, I can tell you're both tired," said the Uchiha boy. Sakura looked at Sasuke wondering why he had a change of plan all of a sudden. It was unusual of him to want to take breaks during missions, let alone the Chunin exams. "Are you sure, Sasuke? You said yourself that you wanted us to not rest because you want to complete this portion of the exams as quickly as possible and with no trouble at all." The three of them landing on a massive tree branch several meters off of the ground, and Sasuke turned to face the pink-haired girl. "I've been thinking of what Kakashi-sensei said to us when we did the bell test. He was right, I never thought about the well-being of you guys, and I want to say I'm sorry. Given what that weird proctor lady said, this place does have an aura of pure danger in it, so in my opinion, we need to rest as much as possible to have the energy to fight back against any of the other teams who will try to take our scroll from us. Remember, it's an anything goes battle, meaning we are permitted to kill everyone if the need comes to it, and we are fair game too," explained Sasuke. Sakura and Naruto looked at their teammate in shock. The Uchiha boy was usually a quiet, stoic and a bit of an asshole, and to see Kakashi's talk no jutsu about teamwork and the safety of your comrades get to him was a shocker. Nothing could get through him before they met the silver-haired jonin. "I'm glad to see an Uchiha be caring for once," Naruto teased with his tongue sticking out at him. The semi-insult and compliment made a tick mark form on Sasuke's head, and he placed a hand on Naruto's throat. "You want to be fed to the snakes, dope?" he said in a menacing tone. He didn't really mean it, as it was merely a facade to try and scare his teammate, as evident by the friendly evil smile on his face. Sakura giggled at the antics of her two teammates, as they were always like this during their academy days. "Okay, you two cut it out. You're right, Sasuke, we really appreciate the break," she said sincerely. "It's best too, I have a feeling that every team without a heaven scroll is gonna try and take out those with a heaven scroll. We'll need the energy, and when we're done I think another good idea is for us to fan out and search for anyone with the scroll we need," Sasuke said. Naruto raised his arm up as if he was asking an instructor a question. Oh, I have a question." "What is it, Naruto?" Sasuke asked. "If we're gonna fan out and search, can I go with Sak?" "Nope, we're splitting up and going solo," the Uchiha interrupted. "What? I don't want to be alone," the blonde exclaimed. Sasuke and Sakura laughed at their knuckle-headed teammates complaining and found it amusing whenever he did complain. "Don't worry Naruto, you have your shadow clones to keep you company," Sakura giggled. "Well, yeah, you're right, but it's not the same as you, Sakura-chan." Sasuke flicked his teammate on the forehead to calm him down. It worked. "Drr, stop doing that, Sasuke." Naruto growled, rubbing his forehead. Sasuke turned and looked other direction. "I'll stop flicking you on the forehead when you learn to stop being a little whiner baby, dope." "Oh, that's it, we're sparring after this is over, Mr. Emo." Naruto retorted. "Okay guys, that's enough." Sakura stepped in between her teammates to prevent them from mauling each other. The three teammates sat on the tree branch and talked about plans for well over an hour before they decided to begin their plan of fanning out and searching for a heaven scroll. Remember, all the other teams from Konoha are not enemy, even if they have the scroll we need. Consider all foreign shinobi as fair game, and if they have what we need, take it from them, okay? If they have the same scroll as us, destroy it to knock that team out of the exam. Sasuke said after going over their plan. "Got it." Sakura and Naruto said. Sasuke turned around to head off in the direction he wanted to head in and turned his head to look over his shoulder to give his teammates a last note. "Last thing, try to avoid drawn-out fights. I don't want anyone to get hurt, and if that happens, we'll be down a teammate or a team and we'll fail the exams. Be careful out there." The Uchiha boy then leaped into the treetops before disappearing, leaving Naruto and Sakura alone. "Do you think it was a good idea to let him keep the scroll?" Naruto questioned. "Yeah, he's a tough fighter, and I highly doubt anyone's gonna get it from him. I should head out, Naruto, I'll see you later." The pin cat followed Sasuke's actions and headed in another direction as Naruto observed her. "Well, guess I should head out too." The blonde thought to himself. On Hagakure, Jonin rec room. "How do you think they're handling the forest, Kurenai?" A masked Jonin with silver hair asked. The woman with long black hair and piercing red eyes smiled at the man. "Honestly, I think they're going to be fine. We put our genin through some rigorous training, so I haven't a hint of worry, Kakashi." Kurenai answered. Another Jonin in the room smoking a cigarette nodded in agreement. "Since I'm training the next generation of Ino Shikacho, and if I remember correctly their dads destroyed their Chunin exams, I'm very confident in their success. Though I hope Shikamaru doesn't get lazy when the preliminary comes around," the Jonin named Asuma said. Kakashi knew that despite his team starting a bit rough during their first few missions, he had the utmost faith in them. At first they didn't work well at all as a team, but the more they spent time together and the more he lectured them about the values of teamwork, he saw the true potential in them during a bell test he had them do the week before the exams to see if they were really taking in the knowledge of his lectures. "I know my team can do it. I think they're the best and strongest out of the rookie 9. Well, I don't mean to brag or anything, but it's facts," Kakashi said in a matter-of-fact manner. I can't deny that Kakashi, Kiba is still too brash, and sometimes he would just charge into a fight without thought. Shino is still not a very vocal team member as well as Hinata, but nonetheless I can sense the chemistry between the three of them. Kurenai inquired. "I just hope Choji doesn't eat Ino or Shikamaru if he gets too hungry. I like the boy, but he just focuses way too much on food than actual ninja training. What I fear most is Shikamaru being too lazy to fight the other teams," Asuma added. "Oh yeah? I just hope Naruto and Sasuke don't maul each other to death since they've had a rivalry going back the very first time they laid eyes on each other," Kakashi said. The three Jonin chuckled at their little inside jokes they had about their students, but in all honesty they cared for their students and hoped for the best for them. Especially Kakashi when it came to Naruto. "He reminds me so much of his dad, guys, and I'm glad Lord Third accepted my proposal to train him. Sakura and Sasuke will also grow up to be fine shinobi, maybe even stronger than us." The other two Jonin smiled and they agreed with their colleague. Naruto had something special, and they knew it when they laid their eyes on him for the first time. "Hey Kakashi," Kurenai said. "What's up? Isn't Rin filing for joint leadership of your team? Sakura wants to be a great medic, and since Rin is the best we have it would make sense. Plus, she had him as a sensei too," the red-eyed woman said. "Yeah, she really wanted to be Naruto's sensei over me, but Lord Third wanted her to focus on leading the medical corps. I hope he accepts the proposal soon too because I know the team can be too much to handle sometimes. She'd make a great big sister to Naruto and Sakura, and much like Sakura she'd keep my favorite blonde in check." The three Jonin continued to talk about their teams before heading out for a lunch break. Back at the Forest of Death. "DCH, man, this is so stupid, where the hell is everybody?" Naruto whispered to himself as he hopped from one branch to another. He continued on for another 20 minutes before deciding that he should stop and catch his breath. "Seriously, I haven't caught wind of any other team in this place, is it really that freaking huge?" the blonde thought in total exasperation. He then heard what sounded like a girl screaming, and like any other male with dignity in them, he looked in the direction from which it came. Huh? Sounds like someone is in trouble. Naruto was about to head in the direction of the scream, but he remembered something Sasuke had told him before they parted ways. Wait, Sasuke said if any other team was in trouble, I should take advantage of them and see what scroll they have. If they didn't have a heaven scroll, take them out and burn their earth scroll. The blonde thought that it was a bit harsh of Sasuke to do, but this literally was a free-for-all between all the teams, and while Sasuke was right, he still had it in him to go investigate. Being the gentleman he is, he learned from Sakura growing up that to win a woman over is to help her when she's in need. Or so he thinks. That what Sakura told him is he didn't really pay attention much. Well, it's a girl that's in trouble, I have to help, I'm a gentleman, so just this one time. The blonde then headed in search of the source of the scream. Elsewhere in the forest we see what appears to be a girl being cornered into a large tree trunk. She had red hair that was kept neat on one side and the other it was a bit unkempt. She had crimson eyes and a fair skin tone and wore glasses. Her headband identifying her as a Kunoichi from Kusagakure. "Gee, get away from me, you creeps," the girl shouted in fear. The team of Iwa Genin that was all male had a look of sadism in their eyes. Whatever they were planning on doing to the poor girl was something far beyond a criminal act. "Never thought Kusa could have such hot babes," one of the Iwa males said. "I know, that cute face, but my god, is that red hair a huge turn-off," another one said. "Ah, who cares? We're gonna be here for 5 days, so might as well take this chance with that fine piece of ass," the third one said. Don't even think about it. Just leave me alone," screamed the girl. "Sure, we'll leave you alone after we're done with you and take your scroll," the ringleader spat. The three creeps inched their way closer to Karin and they eyed her and the scroll. Mostly pure carnal pleasure when they looked at her and she knew what was coming. The girl had to act fast, so drawing a kunai knife from her holster, he stabbed the ringleader in the gut, making him scream in agony. She then headbutted him using the steel plate on her headband for extra power, struck another Iwa male right in the nose, making him bleed. "Ow, censored. Oh, you're gonna pay for that one, tomato." She tried to make a break for it but was tackled down to the ground by the third uninjured Iwa male, and while his teammates recovered from their hits, he was aggressively trying to take her green top off. She began to squirm furiously and tried to swing her kunai at him, but he swatted the ninja weapon away, leaving her defenseless for the moment. "Quit your squirming, tomato," the Iwa male spat as he finally pulled her top off of her, leaving her in her mesh shirt. "Ah. Get the hell off of me," she screamed. The other two Iwa Genin got up and slowly walked over to the pinned girl, and they held her hands down to prevent her from squirming. Being physically stronger, she couldn't even move an inch to struggle, and she felt one of the males take the scroll from her hand. "I'll be taking that, girly," the Iwa boy said, putting the scroll into his pouch. The other one, the one Karin had headbutted, had the most sadistic looking grin on his face as he rubbed his palms together and he proceeded to unbuckle his pants. "Okay, time to get those shorts off," he said. The girl began to resist them more furiously now as she didn't want to be a victim to these creeps, but she just couldn't. They were taller and obviously stronger than her physically, but she kept on fighting. "Get the censored away from me and let me go," she screamed at the top of her lungs. It hurt her throat a bit. The Iwa Genin straddling her then smacked her so hard it knocked her glasses right off of her face and she was temporarily blinded at the loss of them. "Shut up." The slap was so strong it caused her ears to ring and she felt numb. She didn't notice that a fourth male had joined them. Turning around, the Iwa Genin spotted Naruto standing before them with a look of heroism in his eyes. "Alright, you weirdos, let the girl go," he instructed. The Iwa team looked at each other and then back to Naruto and then burst out laughing. "What are you gonna do about it, shrimp?" the ringleader said, got out between laughs. Censoring Konoha idiot playing the role of the hero, how typical. Naruto only glared at the Iwa Genin annoyed as ever and took a kunai from his holster and chucked it at them. The kunai sailed past the ringleader and sliced into his cheek, drawing a small amount of blood, and they all stopped laughing at him because of his impressive aim. "Yeah, I may be short, but I can sure as hell kick all your asses. So you gonna leave the girl alone or what?" said the blonde. Without uttering a single word, the three Iwa boys charged towards Naruto, ready to pulverize the blonde for interrupting their little fun. The ringleader drew a kunai and took a swing at the blonde, but Naruto effortlessly ducked the attack and delivered a hard elbow strike to the boy's gut, making him double over in pain. Naruto then kicks him away by shoving his foot directly into his face and sends him careening into a nearby tree with a thud. Smirking at his success, he jumps over attempted punches from the other two and grabs both of their heads and causes them to bang their heads against each other, almost knocking the two of them from the hit as he lands on the ground. Think I'm some kind of weakling because I'm some shrimp? Come on, I took my ninja training seriously with my team. Now are you gonna listen and leave that girl alone, or do you want a real ass whooping? Naruto said. While all of this was happening, Karin was on all fours, desperately searching for her glasses. Censored. I can't see. The Iwa team all rubbed their heads and whatever parts of their body was struck by Naruto, and slowly they finally stood up on their feet. Angry and annoyed that a Konoha brat just whooped them. You censorating Konoha idiot, we'll show you what happens when you mess with Iwa shinobi. Declared the ringleader. He and his team began performing a series of hand seals. They tried to use a rock fist jutsu to try and hit the blonde and pummel him down, but Naruto performed a shadow clone jutsu, and in a mass of smoke, it is revealed that he produced at least 100 clones, and the intimidating sight made the Iwa boys halt their attack. Holy shit. I've never seen so much shadow clones. One of the Iwa genin said in a shaky voice. The Iwa team knew that they couldn't do anything fighting against the clones because by the looks of it, this Konoha brat can produce endless amounts of them, so if they beat this group of 100, he can just bring out 100 more. However, they tried to remain calm about the situation. Think you can take on 100 shadow clones? Alright boys, show them what we do to jerks who pick on girls. Naruto ordered his clones. You got it boss. Said the clones, and they all leaped from the treetops and onto the three poor Iwa boys, and they only screamed as the clones descended upon them. The sounds of fists colliding with flesh and the Iwa boys groaning and crying out in pain from their beating filled the air for over 2 minutes before Naruto dispelled the clones, and that was when the beating ceased. The Iwa genin were left beaten, swollen and bruised on the ground and twitchy from the onslaught of clone fists and kicks they received just now. Nodding in satisfaction, Naruto rummaged through their pockets and found that they had the scroll his team needed to pass this portion of the Chunin exams. Alright, I got it. He shouted, jumping for joy before he heard the girl whisper as if talking to herself. Damn it, where are my glasses? Turning to face the sound of the voice, he spotted the red-headed girl still on all fours, patting the ground in search of her glasses. Looking down, he spotted them just a few meters away in a nearby bush. He walks over to it and scoops it up carefully as to not break it, and heading over to the girl he squatted so that he was eye level with her. He admitted she was quite cute with that beautiful red hair and her eyes. Here you go. The girl was momentarily startled by the sudden voice and squinted at her glasses which Naruto held in front of her. These what you're looking for? Despite having terribly blurry vision, she could make the object out as her glasses and swiftly took it from Naruto and put them on, and she was greeted to the kindest face she had ever laid eyes on. Better? Naruto asked. The girl immediately jumped back, and it wasn't because he spooked her, it was because of what just happened with the three Iwa shinobi. She was being cautious with this other boy in front of her. Who are you? She asked. Me? I'm the guy who saved you, of course. The blonde declared proudly. Saved? You saved me from those assholes. Naruto pointed behind her and turning around, she saw her tormentors beaten to a bloody pulp and passed out. Turning back to look at Naruto, she saw that he sported a huge grin on his face, as if he accomplished something. He did, but that grin was too big to be a grin. Someone came and saved me? There's no way no one would ever save a girl like me. The girl thought to herself. I mean, he did, and the proof is right there, so the least I can do is thank him. Thanks. She said in a low voice. Naruto noticed the somber tone in her voice, and he recognized it as the same tone he spoke with when he was growing up and before he met his team. Hey, something bugging you? The girl looked at Naruto and saw that he seemed to be genuinely concerned about her well-being, but looked away immediately. Oh, no, nothing, it's fine. The blonde boy immediately knew the girl wasn't telling the truth because the look she had on her face and in her eyes were exactly what he had growing up. You know, it's really unhealthy to keep everything bottled in, you can talk to me about anything. I lend my ears. The blonde quipped. The girl was really confused. Why was this stranger so curious and concerned about her? 1. She was from a foreign village, and therefore that would automatically make her an enemy to genin from other villages participating in the exams. 2. He didn't even know her. Why do you care? You're probably like all the other guys from home. Always showing concern for me only for them to hurt me afterwards. Sorry, I'm not falling for that again. Spat the girl. Naruto was shocked at how he was being spoken to. Why is this girl so negative to him when he just saved her from those Iwa genin from doing kami knows what? Oh come on. It doesn't matter if you're a stranger or not, I saved you because Karin saw that you needed help. I couldn't just leave you when you're in peril because that's not my ninja way. I also helped you because I wanted to. The girl looked into Naruto's eyes, and since she was a sensor type, she used her ability to see if she could detect the smallest ounce of lies within his chakra, but when she began to sense his chakra she was shocked. He had an immense amount of chakra, more so than any Jonin from Kusa, it actually shocked her a bit. Whoa, that's a lot of chakra, where are his reserves coming from? The girl thought. If there was another thing that she noticed, it was that his chakra felt very warm and welcoming, and right there she knew that he wasn't lying, combined with the sincere look in those bright blue eyes of his. She then believed him, and she began to notice that he was actually quite good looking with those whisker marks on his cheek. Yoo-hoo, Earth to redhead girl, are you there? Naruto said, waving his hand in front of her face, snapping her back to reality. Oh. Sorry, I was thinking about something. You okay? You were staring into space. The blonde questioned. He stood up and reached his hand down, offering it to her, and she held onto it, and he pulled her up so that she was standing in front of him. He was a few inches taller than her by about 3 or so, while she stood at a petite 5 feet. Yeah, I'm fine, thanks for coming to my rescue. Sorry for being a bitch earlier. I'm Karin. The blonde boy smiled tenderly at Karin. Nice to meet you. I'm Naruto Uzumaki from Konoha, believe it. Karin giggled at his silliness but realized what he said his last name was. Uzumaki? There's no way this guy is in Uzumaki, his hair isn't even red. Could it be? Nah, there's no way, it's probably a coincidence. She thought curiously, well, nice to meet Naruto Uzumaki from Konoha, believe it. My name is just Naruto Uzumaki. I know, silly, I'm just messing with you. In case you're wondering, I'm from Kusa. That's cool. Never met anyone from Kusa before, let alone a foreign village. So you're the first one. Naruto declared. Me neither, so why are you alone, Naruto? Where is your team? Karin questioned out of curiosity. I should be asking you the same question, Karin, but if you really want to know, me and my teammates decided that we'd split up for a bit to search for a heaven scroll, and that's how I came across you and… Those weirdos. Naruto said, pointing towards the beaten Iwa Genin. Karin felt a sense of sadness, depression and anger coursing through her body. She balled her hands into fists and felt the urge to hit something, but didn't want to appear negative in front of her savior. Oh. Those assholes. They abandoned me the moment we stepped into this forest, and half an hour later I found them in the process of getting eaten by some huge snake. I watched as they died and I enjoyed it because they always treated me like crap. Now Naruto was the curious one. Really? Why did they treat you like crap? Karin looked Naruto in the eyes. I was made fun of because my ugly red hair, my nasty bloody red eyes and my stupid glasses, because they say it makes me look like a retarded nerd. They always singled me out when we were in the academy because of those reasons. Hell, any guy I end up liking used me and gave me false friendship when they needed my help with an assignment, and when they passed whatever it was they threw me aside like the trash I am. No one, absolutely no one wanted to be my friend, so I'm used to being on my own because censored people. Tears began to slowly come out of Karin's eyes and she tried her hardest to fight them back, but she wasn't successful. Naruto could relate to this girl because when he was growing up he didn't really have any friends, and the older generation in his village looked at him with fear or contempt, but that didn't stop him. He wanted to prove the villagers who hated him wrong and win over their acknowledgement by becoming Hokage. He placed a hand on Karin's shoulder and the redhead looked at him with teary eyes. Come on, Karin, don't be so negative. I know everything may seem bad to you at first, but I promise you life is gonna get better, you know. I grew up in the same shoes as you, but when I began my ninja training I met my 2 teammates and my sensei, and they treated me with kindness and fairness, and that gave me hope that there are good people in this world who really care for you. Well, back in Kusa those morons didn't want to be your friend or didn't like you, let me say this, prove them wrong, and they'll come censoring up to you later when you are more successful than them. If it makes you feel any better, I'd love to be your friend, a real friend, because you seem really sweet and nice. The blonde teen said with such sincerity. Karin used her sensory skills to try and see if he was telling the truth, and his warm chakra told her he was. Was this a dream? Was someone actually offering friendship to her? You're not going to treat me like trash, are you? It's happened to me so many times, Naruto, I don't want to go through that again. Why would I treat you like trash? I have no reason to treat anyone like trash no matter how bad they treat me. Also, don't ever say your hair is ugly because I think it's beautiful. The glasses suit you too, and it makes you look very sophisticated, really it does. the blonde said with that big grin of his. This time the compliments from the blonde made Karin blush that quickly disappeared just as it appeared and she smiled a genuine smile at her savior. Thanks Naruto, that really means a lot. Naruto gave her a thumbs up. Don't mention it. And I'm not saying to be nice or anything, I mean it. He looked around the area and saw only trees, bushes, more trees and bushes with the unconscious Iwa Genin included. It wasn't safe here anymore due to how exposed they were. So you said your team got eaten by a big snake, right? Why not come back with me and you can stay with my team and I until the exams are over. Oh no, I can't possibly do that because your teammates might attack me. You go on ahead, I'll just sit here and wait until the exams are over. Karin said, holding her hands up. Naruto grabbed her by the hand and gently pulled her towards him. No they won't. Don't worry, I'll vouch for you, Karin. Besides, I can't just leave you out here alone, especially after what happened with those Iwa weirdos and your teammates. You're a fellow shinobi regardless if you came from Kusa or not. Karin could hear the sincerity in his voice and that attractive smirk of his. She knew he was telling the truth. He really genuinely cared for her despite meeting just now. Wait, did she just think his smirk was attractive? Nonetheless, she was glad to have come across someone who really wanted to be her friend, so she decided to go along with him as she had nowhere to go and being alone, she wouldn't last the night. Okay Naruto, I'll come with you though I hope your teammates are nice people. They sure are. Come on, I should be meeting back with them in about 10 minutes and I'll introduce you to them. Let's go. Naruto then took off into the forest brush at a fast speed, with his tight grip and Karin, she was practically flailing behind him like a ragdoll. Whoa, Naruto slowed down. The two genin then disappeared into the forest, headed back to Team 7's original spot to rendezvous with Sakura and Sasuke. Despite his hyperactive nature, Karin was glad to already have a caring and good friend in Naruto, and while she was being dragged, she had a smile on her face. Gotta get used to this. She thought to herself. Where is that dope? He should have been here about 30 minutes ago. Sasuke asked as he was leaning against a massive tree trunk with Sakura accompanying him. After he and Sakura had returned to the huge tree branch they had dispersed from earlier, he and Sakura have been waiting a good half hour for Naruto to return from his little scouting mission to find the scroll they needed, and frankly, he was beginning to run out of patience for his blonde teammate. Sakura was just innocently stabbing a kunai knife into the tree branch and looking up at Sasuke, she saw that he was beginning to get aggravated with Naruto. He was late, but this is the latest he had ever been since their team formed. It's Naruto being Naruto. Sasuke, be patient, you know he'll turn up soon, hopefully. Sakura said, smiling. Sasuke only snorted in response. That dope, we might as well go look for him because who knows what happened to that guy. He probably got abducted by another team or worse, eaten by a snake. Sakura bonked Sasuke over the head for his smartest remark. Chaya. Don't say that, Sasuke. You might end up jinxing it. How would you feel if Naruto said that to you? The Uchiha boy rubbed his aching head and looked at his pink teammate in pure aggravation. Stop hitting me like that, Sakura, and relax, geez, it was just a joke. He said with a pout. Sakura knew he was right though because Naruto was always the kind of guy who could be reckless, so she thought it would be best if they went to look for him. But yeah, I hope we didn't get into any trouble, so let's go look for him, Sasuke. Just then two more fingers landed near them and the sound of them landing on the branch caught the attention of Sakura and Sasuke. Looking in the direction of the noise, they saw Naruto standing there with a huge smirk on his face, and he wasn't alone. Karin was standing behind him and had her hands placed on his shoulder and was looking over them. It was almost as if she was trying to hide herself to the other members of Team 7. Damn it, dope, we were about to go looking for you. You're like a few minutes late. Sasuke groaned. Yeah Naruto, you always do that to us. Sakura said. The blonde genin scratched the back of his head and laughed nervously. Gee, sorry guys, I got caught up in something. Don't worry though, I have a heaven scroll so we're good on passing the exams. Naruto took out the scroll from his pouch and presented it to his teammates, and they raised their eyebrows as they didn't expect to get a scroll so soon and for their blonde teammate to get one, since he always played around when it came to fighting, as evident from their training sessions with Kakashi. Despite the excitement of him having a heaven scroll, the two of them couldn't help but notice Naruto had brought someone back with him. Who's your friend, Naruto? Sakura questioned. Turning around, Naruto looked at Karin, who appeared to be very nervous and shy, that she was practically trying to hide her face from his teammates. He noticed this. Don't be shy, Karin, say hi. He whispered. The blonde's words were enough to get her to do the action, so she stepped out from behind Naruto and waved at Sakura and Sasuke. Sakura narrowed her eyes at Karin to take in her appearance, and if there was one word to describe how the Pinkette felt about seeing the redeed, she was jealous. Karin was easily one of, if not the prettiest girl she had ever seen, and the jealously coursed throughout her whole body as Ino was considered the most attractive kunoichi from her class. She even thought Karin's red hair was cool as hell. The headband let the Pinkette know that she was from Kusa. Hi. I'm Karin. The redhead greeted shyly with a wave of her hand. Hey Karin, I'm Sakura Haruno. Greeted the Pinkette. I'm Sasuke Uchiha. Sasuke greeted putting on a cool attitude. Karin looked at Sasuke and instantly got a douchebag vibe from the onyx-haired teen. The way he introduced himself and his facial expression told her he was easily the biggest or will be the biggest douchebag. Looking at Sakura, she used her sensor ability to see her chakra, and the feeling she was getting from the Pinkette was jealousy and uneasiness. Nice to meet you both. She greeted back. Naruto smiled at Karin since she wasn't being so shy and nervous, but that was the exact opposite of what he thought. I'm glad you're all getting along already. Karin is from Kusagaku, you guys, and obviously she is participating in the Chunin exams with us. Or against us. But I say more along the lines of her being with us. Sasuke had to speak up because since they already spoke with the other teams from Konoha that they won't attack each other, even if they had a scroll they needed, his blonde teammate still brought back a foreign kunoichi, and that made the Uchiha feel a bit uncomfortable. How, when, where and why Naruto? What do you mean, Sasuke? I mean, why did you bring a foreign kunoichi back to us, dope? You know we only have alliances with the teams from our village and pledge to come to their aid if we find them in trouble. Sasuke elaborated. I agree with him, Naruto, no offense Karin. Sakura quipped. Karin winced at the words of the Pinkette and the Uchiha, but she can understand them to a degree. Oh come on guys, I found her about to get messed with by an Iwa team and I decided to come to her aid because she was by herself. Also, her team was eaten by a giant snake and they abandoned her the second this test started, so who was I to leave a girl like her alone and defenseless in this crazy place? Naruto said before turning to face Sasuke. You know you do the same thing too, Sasuke, so don't deny it. Sasuke only looked the other way. True, but still if I was in your shoes I wouldn't have brought her back. Karin was beginning to feel the need to speak up her part and defend herself and Naruto's action, so she did just that by stepping in front of Naruto. Sure, you guys are right about him helping a foreign kunoichi, let alone bringing one with him back to you guys, but let me say my part. Kusa and Konoha are trading partners, and relations between our villages are fairly strong, so technically it is only right to help a shinobi from an allied village. Also, you can't blame Naruto at all for helping me because he was only doing the right thing, and whether you disagree with his actions or not, I don't care frankly. Spoke the redhead before continuing. On another note, I'm aiming to become the best medic there ever was in the ninja world, and since Naruto is vouching for me and rescued me, the least I can do for your team is provide medical attention because I have things that I can do that will shock you. So it's a win-win situation for me and your team. You end up having a great medic on your team and you get through this exams like you were never hurt, trust me. If I really wanted to sabotage you guys I would have done it already. Sakura and Sasuke instantly knew the girl was right. Sakura was aiming to be a good medic too, but she hasn't even started the necessary training for it yet, so her team basically went into the forest without any real or proper medical knowledge, and here they pretty much struck a jackpot with Karin. If she really was a good medic already for her age and rank, then she could prove to be a valuable asset for them during the duration of the test, and medical ninjutsu was easily one of the most, if not the most important thing a shinobi should learn regardless of specialty. Karin only stared down the Pinkette and the Uchiha with determination in her eyes, and they gave her insight some thought for a few seconds before coming to a decision. Naruto, do you vouch for her? Sasuke asked. Yeah, what she just said can be a very useful thing for us during this portion of the exams, since I haven't started my medical training yet. Sakura said. Naruto and Karin looked each other in the eye, and once again the red-headed girl used her sensory skills to read Naruto's chakra, and like before, she didn't detect an ounce of deception in them, and the tone in his voice told her that he was being true. He really did want to vouch for her, and it made her feel happy that someone was sticking up for her unlike back home in Kusa. Like I said, I found her when she was most in need, she was being harassed by Iwa shinobi, and I felt obliged to save her. Her teammates are dead and I believe her when she says she has great medical knowledge that can prove to be handy. I didn't bring her just because she's a girl or that she's pretty, I brought her because helping others in need no matter where they come from is my ninja way, guys. Naruto explained. Did Karin and Sakura hear that correctly? Did Naruto just call her pretty? Sakura felt a pang of jealousy coursing through her body because she knew that comparing herself to Karin is no competition whatsoever. Karin on the other hand was blushing intensely from what the blonde just called her. Naruto didn't even notice that he had called her pretty, but nonetheless, his teammates knew that he was usually right, sometimes. Alright dope, we'll let Karin join us since she has no team. Sasuke huffed. Consider yourself a lucky one, Karin, because we wouldn't have let you in if either of us found you. Welcome aboard, I guess. Sakura said. Yeah. Karin gets to join our team. Naruto shouted in pure glee. The blonde then wrapped an arm around Karin's shoulder and gave her a one-armed hug, making the girl blush at the action. She couldn't help but feel immense happiness in her for the blonde's kindness. It really was the first time that someone treated her like a human being with feelings instead of some piece of trash that is tossed aside once its purpose has been fulfilled. Despite the uneasy feelings his teammates were giving off, she knew that they'd eventually come around as she sensed it in their chakra. Thanks guys, I promise I won't be a burden and I'll help out as much as I can even though I pretty much failed since I have no team. Said the Redeed. Sakura and Sasuke nodded. Team 7 will hold you to those words, Karin. Sasuke said before turning to look at Naruto. Now Naruto, me and Sakura came up short-handed, what about you? So where did you get the heaven? Yep. I found one off those Iwa creeps who were picking on her. Great. With both we can now rest up until the 5th day, then we can make our way towards the tower. Sakura suggested. Despite not being part of their team, Karin had thought that Sakura's suggestion did not sound right. Since this was an all-out battle to the death between the genin teams, Karin thought it would be better if they made their way towards the tower in the center of the forest as soon as possible. That sounds like a bad idea, Sakura. If you guys just relax in the forest and wait out the next 4 days, then I'm pretty sure any other team that may have no scroll will take the chance to fight you guys for it, because with the rules that freaky lady with the trench coat explained, everyone's gonna be desperate to pass this thing. So I say we regain our bearings, then head for the tower, and you guys pass this thing ahead of everyone else. The Redeed suggested while adjusting her glasses. Naruto smiled at his new friend, that plan was quite simple and smart. He knew Karin was a smart girl the moment he laid eyes on her. Excellent plan, Karin. What do you guys think? The blonde quipped. Sakura and Sasuke looked at each other. Sounds so much better than my plan, Sasuke. The Pinket said. Makes a lot of sense to just head there now. We get to the tower, 2 more scrolls are unavailable for the other teams to take. Said the Uchiha. With a big grin sported on his face, the blonde turned to Karin and gave her a thumbs up. Sounds like they're agreeing with you, Karin. That's a good start. Karin smiled back at the blonde. Oh come on Naruto, it wasn't a hard thing to think of, I'm sure anyone else would have thought of that if they had the scrolls like you guys do. The praise made Karin feel all giddy as she never had anyone praise her or say something very positive to her that she didn't notice that she was blushing. However, noticing that the day was coming to an end, the team as a whole plus Karin decided that it would be best to rest for the night since they had been on the move when they separated to search for scrolls and they were indeed feeling a bit pooped. I'll take the first watch. No one's gonna come and bother you guys when you sleep. Naruto quipped. Sasuke only sweat dropped. I'm pretty sure the whole forest heard you, dope, you are so loud it's funny. Actually Naruto, since you guys are still in the exams, I'm not, since my team is dead, I think I should take the watch for the whole night since you're the ones that need the rest and energy. Karin interjected. Karin, you're a guest here so you should rest, I mean, you're not even part of the exams anymore, you're out, so we'll take the watch. 1 hour on, 2 hours off throughout the night. Sakura said. No, I can't possibly let you guys lose sleep because of me, I want to be helpful to you guys. Naruto found a scroll from the guys that were about to hurt me, I have great knowledge in medical jutsu, plus I'm volunteering to keep watch for the whole night because I'm a sensor type. Explained the Redeed. Sasuke raised his eyebrows as he was impressed. A sensor type, huh? Naruto on the other hand was confused as he had never heard of these so-called sensor types. What's a sensor type? Sakura was going to open her mouth to explain for her blonde teammate, but Karin had already beat her to it. A sensor type is a shinobi that is capable of detecting the presence of others. There are several methods of sensing, but the most common one is through a person's chakra. In my case, I can tell what kind of personality you have or whether someone is telling the truth or not just by detecting their chakra, and I can differentiate between chakra of the 5 elements. That's why I want to keep watch for you guys, because not only that, but I can detect chakra from a great distance. Karin explained in full teacher mode. Wow, that's so cool. Can you teach that to me, Karin? The blonde exclaimed. Oh well, I don't know if it can be taught, I mean, I was kinda born with it. Karin said. Wait, you said you can determine someone's personality. Did you use your sensory skills with me when I saved you? Karin blushed. Yeah. When you kept pestering on how you really wanted to help me, I sensed your chakra and knew that you were telling the truth. Your chakra is also warm and welcoming. Naruto saw the Redeed's face reddening and placed a hand on under headband and onto her forehead to check her temperature. Huh? You're looking awfully red in the face, Karin, feeling sick or something? And no. Karin shouted, turning to look away. Her words didn't go unnoticed by Sakura and Sasuke, who had their eyebrows singed off by what they just heard. Nonetheless, they decided not to bring it up, and as the sun began to set and the forest began to turn black from the approaching night, it was decided, thanks to Naruto's pestering, that all four of them will have 1 hour on and 3 hours off of watch. They would grab some leaves to make beds out of them, and it would be Sakura who kept the first watch. Later that night. Hey Karin, it's your turn to keep watch. Sasuke said as he gently poked the sleeping Redeed. The poking did its job of waking up the girl, and rubbing her eyes, she opens them to see Sasuke standing over her. Already? HN. Was all Sasuke said before heading to his makeshift bed of leaves and laying down on them right next to Sakura, who slept in between the two boys. The Redeeded girl let out a yawn and stretched for a second before putting on her glasses and got up to walk over to the edge of the massive tree branch to sit there for watch. She took a moment to take in her surroundings, and to her, the forest may be creepy during the day, and the fact that it was currently night didn't do it any justice. She had to admit it did have a bit of a charm to it. Within seconds of sitting down at the edge, she closed her eyes and detected faint chakra signatures a few hundred meters out. It confused her at first when she noticed that they appeared to be single and that they were positioned in high areas of the treetops, as if watching over her and the members of Team 7. If you're using your sensory skills, I bet you can sense my clones. I sent a few of them out a bit so that we can get a heads up if any of them get dispelled. The unexpected sound of Naruto's voice caused Karin to jump, and she nearly turned around and thrusted a kunai knife into the blonde's heart. Holy crap. Naruto cried out in a whisper. The kunai just barely touching his black t-shirt where his heart would be. Naruto, you almost scared me halfway back to Kusa. Karin said, flicking the blonde on his forehead. Rubbing his forehead, the blonde took a seat beside the Redeed and gave her a warm smile. Sorry. I just couldn't sleep after my first watch. I saw that Sasuke woke you up, so I wanted to see if you could use the company. Karin returned his smile. Well, I'm glad you were awake and told me those chakra signatures I'm picking up are your clones, because I almost woke the whole group up. How would you have woken me up? The blonde questioned. By poking those whisker marks of yours, answered Karin. Naruto raised an eyebrow at this and raised his arms up in mock surrender. Come at me then, see what happens. Karin only stared at the boy, wondering if this was a trap, but knew that he was actually going to let her touch his whisker marks. If you say so, Blondie. Reaching a hand up, she roughly pokes his right cheek, and the result was what she didn't expect. Naruto tensed up and let out a barely audible purr before backing up a bit. Okay, that is honestly really cute. Karin thought. Whoa, that was actually the weirdest feeling ever. Naruto whispered. He noticed Karin trying to reach for his whiskers again, but he caught her hand. Hey, let me poke them again. Nah, one is enough to make sure I'm completely awake. Sasuke did it once and elbowed me, said Naruto. But the pout, Karin pulled her hand back and crossed her arms. Fine Naruto, be a grouch. The blonde let out a chuckle before noticing that the canopy of the forest above them had the sky visible, and they looked up at the starry sky. They sat there in silence momentarily before Naruto spoke. Ever watched the night sky like this when you were in Kusa? Once in a while, sometimes I was treated so bad by the people there I would run off into the woods and stay there for a few days, and when night came I actually did this. For some reason stargazing makes me feel at ease. Karin answered. Yeah, same here. Even with how great of friends my teammates are, I still like to stargaze all by myself. I usually do it on the Hokage monument in Konoha. Karin went wide-eyed and in a flash turned to face the blonde. You guys have a monument for your Hokage? SHHHH. Naruto placed a finger on Karin's lips, shutting the girl up. Geez, you didn't need to SHHHHHHHH me so loud, Naruto. She said, moving his finger off her lips. Well, you were being really loud, so I had to quiet you down. Naruto said with a smirk. Maybe next time you should quiet me down in a quiet way. Sure will. Karin returned her gaze back to the stars and took another moment to admire their beauty. You know Naruto, since you're sitting here with me, in a forest with huge animals that can eat you in one gulp, we might as well get to know each other better while we have the chance. Suggested the Redeed. That sounds like a good idea, what do you want to talk about? Karin placed a finger on her chin and thought about what question she wanted to ask her blonde friend. What's your favorite food? Oh, that's easy, ramen from Ichiraku's is the best thing ever. Declared the blonde. No way. You like ramen too? Yeah. What's your favorite flavor? Naruto puffed his chest out, a massive grin plastering his face. Easy, pork miso. Same as me. Karin said. Sweet. Maybe sometime you can come visit me in Konoha and I'll take you to this eatery I go to called Ichiraku's. Their ramen really is the best. I look forward to it, Naruto. So what's your hobby? I like to collect and try new perfumes. Karin questioned. The blonde gave the Redeed another grin. I like to garden and pull pranks on people. The Redeed raised an eyebrow, she did not expect a guy like Naruto to be into gardening. You like to garden? I've never met a guy who does. Well, you have now, I'm one of a kind. Mind if I ask a question? Sure, go right ahead. Just like Karin, Naruto placed a finger on his chin to think about what his first question for his Redeeded friend would be. What are your parents like? This caused Karin to feel a faint hint of sadness lingering through her body, but yet, she still found the resolve the answer. Well. I didn't know my parents. I grew up an orphan in Kusa. Remember when I said people picked on me back home because of my red hair? They also picked on me because I'm an orphan. Naruto felt like hitting himself with a brick for asking such a stupid question, and he felt very insensitive for doing so. Sorry Karin, I shouldn't have asked that. If I may say so, I grew up an orphan too. This caused Karin to look at Naruto. Back before I became a ninja, people used to pick on me all the time. Both kids and adults alike. Admitted the blonde. A monster? Karin asked. Yeah, I don't know what they're talking about, but honestly who cares? I've had moments when I was 5 where they'd break into my house and take me to some alley and beat me until I couldn't move. He had already found out his dark secret from when Mizuki exposed it when he tried to kill him, but decided not to bring up that he is a Jinchuriki to the Redeed. Even though Sakura, Sasuke and Kakashi already knew they did not resent him, but he still felt like it would be better to tell Karin at a later time. Karin was shocked. To hear that this really happy-go-lucky guy who seemed to always be smiling and had the biggest smile she's ever seen was taken from his house and beaten by the people in his village really made her wonder. They really did that to you? How can you be so happy and keep smiling, Naruto? That's easy, because one day I'll be Hokage and then they will start to respect me. I want to be acknowledged by them, and even though it may seem crazy, that's my dream. Declared the blonde. The Redeed rested her chin on her knees as she thought about her younger days. People treat me so bad in my village, I just wanted to leave. If I were to be honest, I wanted to be in this exam so I can have the chance to die, because people in Kusa would be better off without me. No, the world would be better off without me. She began to tear up a bit. Don't say that. The tone in Naruto's voice caught Karin by surprise as it sounded very serious and a bit angry. So lifting her head up, she turned to look at the blonde boy. He placed a finger on her chin and lifted her head slightly so he can look her in the eyes. Remember what I said earlier today? Life isn't always easy, Karin. It's not about sunshine and rainbows. Do you really want to know what it's about? It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. Don't let what those jerks in Kusa say to you bring you down, because if you do, those mean things they say will keep you down permanently if you let it. You may think yourself as a loser, but if you keep moving forward despite all the setbacks from the name calling or just people picking on you, it makes you a winner. You gotta take the hits, Karin, and please don't ever point at yourself and say you're no good, because cowards do that, and I know you aren't a coward, Karin. I know we just met today, but still, I can tell you're a really strong and good person. Karin heard the conviction in his voice, and even without using her sensory skills, she can tell he wasn't lying and being 100% truthful with her. You really think so? He smiled at her. Of course I do, believe it. Karin only snorted and looked the other way. Kami Naruto, we only knew each other for what? 5 hours and here you are giving me a motivational speech. You do this to girls you just meet? Not really, you're the first one. I feel privileged to be the first one. Thanks Naruto, that actually means a lot to me. It's nice to know you think of me that way. Karin said. No problem. I think we get along great and I'm glad I came across you today. You're really cool and very interesting. You too as well, Blondie. Naruto didn't expect the next move when Karin wrapped her around him and gave him a hug, to which he returned, and the hug felt really good, even if it was a friend hug. After about a minute the Reunited separated the hug. "Hope we can hang out after the exams are over, because that Ichiraku ramen sounds great from what you've said Karin. "Yeah. I promise you it's the best thing you'll ever eat in your life, so let me know when you decide to come by." Naruto yawned, and that didn't go unnoticed by Karin. "Maybe you should sleep because you have a guard shift in about an hour and a half. Sakura is up next, so you might as well take the time to rest up, Blondie," Karin said in a bossy voice. "Yeah, you're right. It was nice having a conversation with you, Karin." Naruto got up and walked over to where he slept and went to lay down beside Sakura. "We'll talk again tomorrow?" "Of course, now go to sleep before I hold you down with paper bombs," Karin said, making her face appear as menacing as possible to the blonde. Naruto shivered in fear looking at her face, and his head fell backwards and in a split second was asleep, much to Karin's surprise. Well, that escalated quickly. Karin thought before returning her gaze to the stars. She was still wondering why Naruto was so nice to her, and to know he thought highly of her so soon, despite meeting just hours prior, made her feel special. Compared to all the guys she has ever dealt with, Naruto was the one that was being real with her, and she decided then and there that she'd really want to get to know him better once the exams are over. She laid there staring at the stars with a content smile on her face, as she knew that Naruto was indeed her first real friend, and she wanted to keep it that way. "We finally made it," Naruto exclaimed in pure joy. Since the crack of dawn, Naruto, Karin, Sasuke and Sakura had made it their goal to try to make it to the tower in the center of the forest before the afternoon. Despite the major setback of letting Naruto take the lead and got them lost, eventually the four teens were able to figure out which direction the blonde had misled them in before heading toward the tower after Karin had taken the lead. "Okay, lesson learned from all this, everyone. Never let a dope with blonde spiky hair, whisker marks on his cheeks and ramen obsessed lead you, because you'll only get lost," Sasuke snorted. A tick mark formed on Naruto's head. "Hey. I just wanted to try and see what would happen if I led the team for an hour, so don't get mad at me, it was my first time, you jerk," said the blonde in defense. Karin and Sakura only giggled at the antics of the two boys. "I have to agree with him, Naruto, no wonder you censored it at learning how to read a map when Kakashi-sensei gave us that one lesson," said the pinhead. "I've only known you for about a day already, and yet, I learned that you should be a follower, Naruto, not a leader," Karin teased, her tongue stuck out at the blonde. "You guys are mean," Naruto said, now sulking in misery. Karin, Sakura and Sasuke took pleasure in Naruto's displeasure, and Sasuke wrapped his arm around Naruto's neck and pulled him in closer before balling his fist into a knuckle, and he proceeded to roughly rub his knuckles on the top of Naruto's head at such blinding speeds it was producing smoke. "Ah. Ow," Sasuke cut that out. Having felt that he had teased his friend enough, the Uchiha let Naruto go and patted him on the back. "Alright, dope, but remember from now on you're not leading us, got it? Leave that part to me." "Grrr. Fine, whatever." Naruto pouted. You know he kinda actually looks really cute when he pouts," Karin thought with a blush. While she was blushing, the members of Team 7 looked at the massive door to the tower and admired its beauty. The massive structure stood tall and proud over the forest. Naruto took out the heaven scroll he had found while he rescued Karin, and Sasuke took out the earth scroll they were given right before the exams started. The three team members looked at each other with smiles on their faces and nodded before Naruto walked up to the door and with all his might slowly pushed it in. The huge doors opening slowly with a sound that was reminiscent of metal grinding against metal. Eventually the blonde had managed to fully open the door, and the massive hallway that was visible made the teens awe at the sheer size of it. "Holy crap, that's the biggest hallway I've ever seen," Naruto quipped. "We should head inside, maybe some Jonin or Chunin are in there waiting for us participants to show up with the scrolls," Sakura suggested. "HN," was the only thing Sasuke said before the three teammates entered the tower. As they walked in, Naruto noticed that Karin wasn't with them and looked to his left and right before turning around to see the red-heated girl still standing outside, blushing from her thoughts, staring into space like she was in some kinda trance. He noticed that she was looking at him with a smile on her face as well. "Hey Karin, you coming?" What?" And now confused Karin said, Naruto's voice snapping her out of her daze. "Come on in. We're not leaving you outside," Naruto said, motioning for her to come to him. "Oh, sorry, I was thinking about something." Karin ran over to join the blonde teen, and together they walked further into the building until they, the Pinkat and Uchiha, reached the end of the massive hallway with a huge painting on the wall. The painting had the symbols for all the 5 great villages plastered on it, as well as the minor villages of Aim, Kusa and Taki as well, signifying all the villages that have participated in the Chunin exams in the past. Below the painting was a plaque with writing on it. The 4 teens read the text, and due to the sheer amount of it took them a good 5 minutes before they finally finished. "They're telling us to open the scrolls," Sakura said. "Yeah. That doesn't sound right because they were being real anal about us not reading these things. I'm not buying it cause I bet they're just doing this to get us to be disqualified when we think we passed," Naruto quipped. I have to agree, and quite a poetic way to put it too," Sasuke said, chipping in his 2 cents. Karin on the other hand was thinking otherwise. "Hey guys." Naruto, Sakura and Sasuke said in unison. "Sure, they were being real anal about us not opening the scrolls, they told us not to, and that was a direct order from a higher ranking ninja, but with the text, I'm sure they actually do want us to open these scrolls, since it's a direct order in written form. Might as well do it, suggested the redeed. Sakura and Sasuke looked at the scrolls laying on the floor before looking at each other, then they set their sights on Naruto. For a moment they actually believed that Karin was trying to set them up by having them open the scrolls when they just arrived at the tower and put them out of the exams, since that's what would happen. They had a feeling that the proctors were secretly watching them to make sure they didn't open the scroll, and if they did right now that crazy trench coat lady Anko Mitarashi might swoop in and disqualify them for disobeying orders. However, this wasn't the case with Naruto as he knew that the redeed's hunch was right, so he picked up both the scrolls and gave the heaven scroll to Karin. "Hey Dobe, what are you doing? You heard what that Anko lady said," Sasuke said. "But the text on the wall says we should open it once we arrive here, and what Karin said makes a lot of sense to me, so I agree with her," Naruto pestered. Sasuke only shrugged. If you think we should do it, Karin, you can do it with Naruto." Nodding, Karin and Naruto look at each other before they slowly unroll the scroll slowly, still being cautious. Eventually they managed to completely unroll both scrolls, and as soon as they did the scrolls began to smoke. "Naruto, Karin, that's a summoning jutsu, put the scrolls down," Sakura shouted. "It's a paper bomb in scroll form. We're all gonna die," Naruto cried out as he gently places his scroll on the ground. "Don't even think about jinxing it," Karin exclaimed, doing the same thing as Naruto, except she tossed her scroll against the wall. The 4 teens ran away and hid behind a pillar, waiting for the supposed paper bombs to go off, while Sakura and Sasuke covered their ears. Naruto and Karin had their arms wrapped around each other waiting for the inevitable. The smoke from the scrolls intensified that it nearly covered the hallway, and it lasted for a few minutes before finally ceasing. Instead of an explosion, the dissipating smoke revealed a figure coughing erratically while rubbing their irritated right eye. Damn it, I used too much gunpowder," the unknown figure cried out. After the smoke completely cleared, the unknown figure looked around the hallway and saw no one. Hello? Naruto? Sakura? Sasuke?" Hearing their names being called, Sasuke and Sakura peeked out from behind the pillar and spotted their Jonin sensei, Kakashi Haddock, standing on top of the scrolls. "Kakashi sensei?" Sakura said in exasperation. "You?" Sasuke said stoically. "Yep, the one and only," Kakashi said, giving them his trademark eye smile before noticing that Naruto wasn't with the two. "Where's Naruto at?" Sakura and Sasuke looked around and noticed the blonde wasn't with them. The Uchiha boy walked over to the pillar and saw Karin and Naruto with their arms still wrapped around each other in an embrace. It looked like they were holding each other one last time before the supposed paper bombs exploded. "Hey Dope, come here," said the Uchiha boy. Hearing his name being called, Naruto looked up from his embrace with Karin and peeked over the pillar. "What's going on? Did we blow up?" "Kakashi sensei is here, so stop cuddling with Karin and move," Sasuke ordered. Naruto and Karin immediately blushed since the two had not noticed they were holding on to each other while the scrolls were smoking, so they separated and stood up. Sorry Karin." "It's fine. I mean, we thought those were paper bombs, so." Karin couldn't finish her sentence as she was too shocked. Looking from behind the pillar once more, Naruto saw Kakashi standing before his teammates. "Hey Kakashi sensei." There you are, Naruto. "Why don't you come on over here because I got some things to tell you," the Jonin said. "Coming." Naruto ran over in such a goofy way it made Karin laugh quietly to herself as she observed him. Her laugh didn't go unnoticed by Kakashi thanks to his good hearing, and looking over to the pillar he saw Karin, and the second he laid eyes on her he smiled despite seeing her Kusa headband. "Sup? Who might you be?" Kakashi greeted. Naruto turned and saw that Kakashi was talking to Karin and saw the Redeed hiding behind the pillar. "Oh. Hang on a second Kakashi-sensei." The blonde rushed over to the pillar and grabbed Karin by the hand and gently pulled her from behind the pillar. "Hey, what are you doing?" Karin questioned. "I'm having you meet my sensei of course. Now come on, don't be shy, say hi." The blonde said as he was now practically dragging Karin over to the Jonin. While she didn't feel threatened when she met Sakura and Sasuke when she stood before the Konoha Jonin, she felt a bit intimidated. Using her sensory skills she detected his chakra and was surprised when she felt calmness and friendliness through it. Compared to Kusa Jonin, they were all assholes and gave off an aggressive vibe that always made her uncomfortable around them, even her own sensei. "No need to be shy, I'm a nice guy, I'm Kakashi Haddock and I'm the Jonin instructor of these three goofs right here. Who might you be?" Kakashi greeted. I'm Karin, from Kusa." The Redeed greeted shyly. Kakashi gave the Redeed an eye smile. "Well, hello there Karin. Forgive me for asking such a question, but what are you doing with my team?" Sakura stepped up to answer the Jonin. "We decided to split up to look for a heaven scroll, and when Naruto came back he had Karin with him." "Yeah? This is getting a bit redundant to say, but I found her being picked on by a team from Iowa and I decided to jump in and save her," declared Naruto proudly. Kakashi raised an eyebrow. "You saved her, Naruto? A foreign kunoichi?" "Yep. That's very typical of him, he did say he was the kind of boy who wouldn't leave someone who's in need. I'm actually quite proud of you, Naruto. Helping others is what we're all about." Kakashi thought. "I see, Naruto, good job." "Good job? What do you mean, sensei?" A confused Naruto questioned. "I mean that you did a good deed is all, most shinobi wouldn't even come to the aid of a person in trouble, so I'm happy for you kiddo," Kakashi said, giving him a thumbs up. "Why you don't care that Naruto helped me at all, even though I'm supposed to be against him and the others in this exam? Heck, he should have just disposed of me on the spot," Karin questioned curiously. "Nope, not at all. Besides, Kusa and Konoha are trading partners, Karin, so he's doing the right thing by helping a fellow shinobi in need," said the masked Jonin. Sakura and Sasuke were very confused at what was going on. Despite the notion of knowing Karin did possess great medical knowledge, the two of them, especially Sakura, were still skeptical about the Redeed. Not wanting to make a hassle or a scene about this, she decided to drop the issue. She was technically out of the exam, so what threat can she pose to her and her friends? "Anyway, you're all probably wondering why I'm standing before you in the first place, am I right?" Kakashi asked. The four genin nodded in response. "Well, it's always been tradition in the Chunin exams that the Jonin greet their students after completing the second part of the exams, and I'm glad because I wouldn't want anyone else to do this part but me. I just want to say congratulations Team 7 for making it to the tower, ahead of schedule too, and we've never had a team make it here this fast. Not like I'm bragging or anything, but I have the best team." "Whoa, seriously? We're the first team ever to make it here this early?" Naruto questioned. Kakashi nodded. "Chan, guess it makes sense, you did give us some hardcore training for the past 4 months. I bet the other teams didn't take their training seriously," Sasuke quipped. "Looks like spreading out and searching for a heaven scroll turned out to be a good choice, because if we didn't Naruto wouldn't have come across Karin and taken a scroll of those Iowa shinobi, meaning we'd still be out there," Sakura said. "Yeah, I agree," Naruto exclaimed. Karin scooted herself closer to Naruto, and the blonde felt the presence and looked to his left to see Karin smiling at him. "Thanks for coming to my aid, Naruto. I'm happy I got to meet you and your team, especially you," she said truthfully. "You're welcome, Karin. Glad I came across you too," Naruto said, wrapping an arm around Karin's shoulders and pulls the Redeed close to him. The Redeed blushed a brighter red than her hair, while the other three were watching the scene between the two with mixed emotions. Sasuke raised an eyebrow and shrugged, and Kakashi merely smiled. Sakura on the other hand felt a bit jealous, and that jealousy was directed at Karin. But the fluff out of the way, Kakashi decided to continue the little speech he wanted to give his team. "So anyway, once again congrats on making it here because this means you all take another step further in your ninja careers. The road will only get harder from here, but you know what? I have the utmost confidence in you guys and there's no doubt you'll all continue to be successful in your careers. I couldn't have asked for a better team," the Jonin said. The members of Team 7 smile and nodded acknowledging their sensei's word. Well, you did train us sensei, and since you are one of the best jonin the village has, it makes sense we become as good as you eventually. Sakura said. I'm an Uchiha, so we're naturally good shinobi. Sasuke quipped. Being trained by you Kakashi sensei and passing these exams will bring me one step closer to becoming Hokage. Believe it. Naruto exclaimed. Karin smiled seeing the obvious close bond these four Konoha shinobi shared and it made her really jealous. Back in Kusa her teammates and even her sensei mistreated her and she wished she had a bond with a team like this. Although that most likely will never happen, the thing she really liked was the bond that she was already having with Naruto, and to her that was all that mattered. You guys are definitely gonna become great shinobi for your village, I can feel it. Said the Redeed. Say Karin, where is your team? Kakashi questioned. The question made Karin's face scrunch up in displeasure. They're dead. The Jonin raised both eyebrows curiously. Oh, I see. Well, since Naruto rescued you I wouldn't mind if you were with my team. The least I can do as a responsible Jonin is have you with us until everything is over. Karin looked at Kakashi with hope in her eyes. Wait, really? You're not gonna just toss me aside like my old team did? Of course not, I don't do that Karin, I am a responsible Jonin. Since you guys are here early, there is a part of this tower set up like a small hotel, should teams make it early, so you all can head up there until every other passing team arrives. Karin, since Naruto rescued you, you two can share a room. The Jonin said, giving the two in question an eye smile. What? Sakura screamed at the top of her lungs. What? Sasuke said. How? Karin screamed while blushing furiously. Whoa. Naruto exclaimed. Kakashi mentally laughed at the shocked state of the four teens before him and decided to elaborate why he made that decision. Calm down everyone, now well we usually have the genders separate when we say, live in a barracks or something. Since Karin already seems close with Naruto, it only makes sense for these two to share a room so Naruto can keep watch and protect her. At least until the exams are over, that is. Despite the sheer nervousness she felt now that the Jonin said she'll be sharing a room with her blonde savior, Karin couldn't help but feel giddy inside as she would most likely be with the blonde for the rest of the Chunin exams and that's all that mattered to her. Even though she still felt that Sakura and Sasuke, especially Sakura, seemed to still doubt her, she understood why and hoped that the Pinkette would stop being even the slightest suspicious of her. He is your sensei guys, might as well listen to him or he'll give you some form of punishment. The Redeed said. Hang on sensei. I believe us as a team should all share a room and let Karin have her own room because I don't think she can handle being in a room with a loud mouth like Naruto. Sakura interjected. Kakashi looked at Sakura in confusion. Well Sakura, you don't seem very happy about those two sharing a room, I'm sure Sasuke wouldn't mind. The girls should get the beds and the boys take the couches in the rooms. But sensei still, Karin has been through a lot when her team abandoned her and from what we've been told, a lot already in her life and when Naruto rescued her from Iwa Genin, so I think she deserves to have time for herself. She could use the time to relax and rest alone. The Pinkette pestered. In Sasuke's case, despite thinking the same way as his teammate, he did think it would be better for Naruto and Karin to share their own room since he can tell they got along really well. I would have to agree with sensei on that one Sakura, so I think you should just let it go. The Uchiha said. Yes Sakura, what's the deal? Do you not trust Karin or what? She's really smart and we would probably still be out in that crazy forest if she didn't come along. Naruto said. I know right. Come on Sakura. Karin quipped. Kakashi was just staring at four genin with a look of pure happiness in his eyes as they reminded him of when he was in a genin team and how they bickered all the time. Ahem, alright everyone settle down now. It's decided, Karin and Naruto will share a room while Sasuke and Sakura share one. Since you're all here so early you can have this time to rest up until the other teams show up. Your rooms will have necessities courtesy of the Hokage since our village is hosting the exams as well as extra clothes, so feel free to bathe. Once again Team 7 congrats on making it here before the other teams and until this portion of the exams is over, I'll be seeing you within 4 days for the next part of this exam. The rooms are up those stairs so go on, you all deserve it and I'll see you later. The silver-haired man tossed Naruto and Sasuke their room keys before he shunshined out of there leaving the four teens by themselves. Naruto and Karin were already looking at the stairs while Sakura and to an extent Sasuke looked at the duo. Kakashi-sensei said there were showers, I'll race you up the stairs. Naruto declared before taking off. Kicking up a massive dust cloud. Said dust cloud caused Karin and the others to cough at the sheer amount the blonde had created, and realizing that he was already halfway up the stairs in a matter of seconds, Karin took off after the blonde boy. Hey, that's not right. Ladies first. Karin called out as she ascends the staircase. Sasuke as usual put on his cool attitude, hands in pockets and eyes closed. We should head up and freshen up as well and get the rest while we can for the next test. Okay Sasuke. Sakura said before following the Uchiha boy up the stairs. Naruto and Karin's room. I get to shower first because I'm a lady so we get to go first. No. I rescued you so I get the privilege of showering first. The moment the two of them walked into the room, they immediately began battle for supremacy and control of the room, shower included, and they were getting absolutely nowhere. Naruto had initially tried to overpower the red-deeded girl by pinning her to the ground and tying her legs up with his orange jacket, but that didn't work as the girl quickly shoved him off of her and pinned him against the wall and held him in place by pinning his head against the wall. Now the two of them were wrestling. The room itself was a small size but had a very comfy and warm feel to it. There was a small fridge, a small couch fit for two people, as well as a bed that could only fit one person which Naruto had called dibs on right before he unlocked the door to the room. However, Karin wasn't having it at all, and the blonde quickly changes his mind on the bed. I thought you were a gentleman, where are your manners? Karin screamed. Well, considering I still have to take the exams I deserve the right to shower first, because I'm tired. A tick mark formed on Karin's head and quickly she tossed the blonde onto the carpeted floor and grabbed both his wrists and pulled his arms back with a tug. An evil glint in her eyes. What happened to you saying you're a gentleman? Was that merely a facade to try and swoon me or something? Naruto was quite shocked how the red-deed changed from being a shy, quiet and very nice girl and went on to become this scary, physically violent girl that he instantly knew could probably kill him in a split second. However, before she can inflict pain on him, he wanted to give her a nickname to suit her angry side. I am a gentleman you red-hot habanero. If you want the shower first you'll have to kill me first. He said with a massive grin. Hearing the name he had called her was the straw that broke the camel's back for Karin. She may find him pretty good looking and her savior from the day before, but the red-deed decided that she could give Naruto a little pain here and there as payback for the rude name. So you like to call me names huh? How's this? Karin exclaimed with an evil glint in her eyes. The red-deed placed a foot on the blonde's back and pulled back his arms at an awkward angle with all her might. There was the sound of many cracks that filled the air of the room, combined with the screams from Naruto. Ah! The blonde cried in agony. See what happens when you treat a lady without manners. Huh, Karin growled. The pain ensued for a good 5 minutes before the blonde's iron will couldn't take it anymore, plus he didn't want Karin to think he didn't have manners, so he gave in. Okay. You get to shower first Karin you win. Cried out the blonde. Although she heard his cries she decided to give him just a bit more pain by letting his arms go and puts him in a chokehold and applied just enough pressure to make him gag. Ag. Please stop you win. You can shower first. Naruto said, almost gagging. In almost an instant Karin's anger disappeared and she let Naruto go relieving the blonde from the sheer pain she put him in and gave him a creepily sweet smile. She then pat him on the head like a dog. That's a good boy. She then made her way to a small drawer that had extra clothes in it and opening it, she was surprised to find basic female casual clothing. There was a purple t-shirt and a pair of black sweatpants. Maybe their sensei planned ahead of time, must have been watching us if there's extra clothes for me here. Karin thought taking the items out of the drawer. So Naruto, I'll be taking that shower first since you're such a gentleman. Thank you very much. Said the red-deed in a sickeningly sweet tone. Naruto was about to say something but decided against it since she would most likely run over to him and complete the deed in breaking his arms. His whole body shivering in fear at the thought. Okay, I learned a new thing about Karin today, let her have her way or she'll kill you. The blonde then walked over to the drawer and opened the cabinet under the one Karin had took her clothes from and saw that there was another pair of his famous orange clothes, neatly folded and set in the cabinet for him. Kakashi sensei definitely knew to prepare ahead of time huh? That guy must have been watching us through the old man's crystal ball. Thought the blonde. He then heard the shower turn on in the small bathroom and the curtains being pulled aside. With his clothes in hand he walked over to the small coffee table in the corner of the room and sat there until Karin was finished with her shower. 30 minutes would pass and Naruto was growing very bored waiting for his red-deeded friend to finish the shower. Why do girls always take so long to do everything? Everything has to be perfect. the blonde thought, now having his head resting on the table. Then the door to the bathroom opened and out walked Karin, and Naruto looked at her with an expression of awe on his face. He thought Karin was attractive from the start, but seeing her all freshened up and out of her Kenwaichi outfit almost made him wolf whistle at her. Her bright red hair accentuated thanks to being cleaned up in the shower, and she had tied it into a ponytail too. Naruto's gawking didn't go unnoticed by the Redeed though, and she felt she should snap him back to reality. At first she wanted to give him more pain, but decided he had already suffered enough pain for the time being. "What are you staring at, Whiskers?" Karin said, trying to sound serious. "Huh? What? Staring? Who's staring? Certainly wasn't me," Naruto said, holding his hands up in defense. A deadpan expression formed on Karin's face. Sure, whatever you say. I'm done showering now, so you'd better get in there before I put you in another chokehold." Naruto didn't want to take any risks of being put in another chokehold, so grabbing his extra set of clothes, he made a dash for the bathroom like a madman and slammed the door shut before locking it tight, much to Karin's amusement. Soon she heard the shower turn on, and feeling hungry she thought it would be a good idea to take a peek in the small fridge beside the coffee table to see if it had anything edible. The moment she opened it she almost screamed in pure joy at the contents inside. The fridge was neatly stocked with a week's worth of microwavable ramen, as well as some miso soup that needed to be reheated. Holy crap. I gotta eat all this before Naruto comes out, Karin thought. The Redeed was caught off guard when the door to the bathroom opened and out walked Naruto, all dried up and smelling fresh. While she would have taken in his handsome appearance and his fresh scent, the girl was in complete and utter shock at how fast the blonde had showered. Not even 30 seconds of locking the door, he already turned on the shower, got undressed, hopped into the shower and dried himself off. Was that even physically possible? "Woo. I feel refreshed and ready for the next part of the exam," declared the blonde while wiping off his wet hair with a plain white towel. He then opened his eyes and noticed that Karin was cradling in her arms the stock of microwavable ramen in her hand, and she looked at him confused. How was your shower?" Karin asked incredulously. "Whoa, where'd you get all that ramen?" the blonde questioned with sparkling eyes. "It was in the fridge, but I already lay claim to them," shouted Karin. "Hey, that is not fair. I want some, so share," Naruto exclaimed before rushing over and tried to take all the ramen cups from the Redeed. Karin wasn't having it however, and the duo ended up in a power struggle over the cups. "You went first with the shower, so now it's my turn to eat the first cup of ramen," said the blonde. "No, it isn't. Ladies first no matter what," Karin retorted. "I eat first." A lady should always go first." "You're not a lady, you're a girl." Another tick mark formed on Karin's head and she relinquished her grip on the stack of ramen with a look of pure sadism on her face. A twinkle of light appearing on her glasses for a millisecond. Now in possession of the ramen, Naruto smirked in victory. "Yeah. I get to eat first. Don't worry about it, Karin, I'll microwave a second cup just for you." "Karin?" His sights on Karin, the blonde saw the redeeded girl adjust her glasses before performing a hand seal, and what happened next caught him completely off guard. Karin pointed her hand in the blonde's direction, and immediately after doing so several chakra chains sprung from her wrist and snakes its way around Naruto and wrapped all around him like a boa constrictor would its prey. What the heck? The stacks of ramen he had in hand fell all around him, and in a few short moments the chains completely wrapped around him, trapping him and leaving him unable to get out of the situation he was now in. He falls forward with a thud on the carpeted floor, helpless. What in fourth Hokage's name Kinjutsu was that? Now that she had trapped the blonde, the Redeed smirked victoriously before scooping up all the ramen cups, much to the blonde's chagrin. "Should've just let me hold on to the ramen, blondie. Now you gotta watch me eat it all in front of you," she said, sticking her tongue out. The girl then walks over to the small microwave on the counter and opened the cups of ramen and uses the sink to pour water into every cup before microwaving all of them, which took her a good 10 minutes at least, putting about 4 cups at a time into the microwave. After finishing that, the smell of all the cooked ramen cups made Naruto drool uncontrollably, it almost drove him insane. "Let me go, Karin, I want some ramen." Taking a pair of chopsticks, Karin took all the ramen and set them down on the coffee and began to devour the first up of ramen in front of the blonde. "Ladies first," she said. Naruto only laid there and watched his friend eat at least 2 cups of ramen before he began to beg once more. "Please, Karin-chan, I want to eat some ramen, so may I get some?" Karin turned to look at her friend and saw he was pouting, and the cute look on his face almost made her squeal. "He looks really cute when he pouts. Maybe I can let him go and we can eat together," Actually I think I'll just do this. Naruto began to cry and I'm tears before he heard Karin get up from the coffee table. Opening his eyes he saw the Redeed walking over to him with 2 ramen cups in hand and he smiled in excitement. Are you gonna let me go from this weird jutsu Karin-chan? Naruto asked only for Karin to shake her head no. Sorry, I was actually gonna undo the jutsu on you so you can use your own hands to feed yourself, but since you called me Karin-chan, I'm gonna leave you on the floor and you'll have to let me feed you like a baby Naruto. Said the Redeed. What? Okay, I didn't mean to call you Karin-chan, I take it back. Please Karin-chan, let me go. The blonde's pleas were silenced when Karin took some ramen for the bowl intended for him and held the pair of chopsticks directly in his face. The smell of it causing him to stop and reconsider his words. Saliva began building up in his mouth. You called me Karin-chan again, so looks like you're being fed like the baby you're Naruto. Karin said, waving the chopsticks to tease him. After noticing that he was eyeing the ramen hungrily, she ate it herself. Delicious. Naruto pouted once more after realizing that he had lost, so he completely surrendered as he was now under Karin's mercy. Fine Karin, you win. He said, almost whispering the words. That's a good Naruto-kun. She said, smiling sweetly at him. Taking some more ramen, she positioned the chopsticks in front of his face and he ate it, knowing that the only way to get ramen from the Redeed was to give in to her obvious superiority. If he didn't, he knew he would be left hungry or worse, beaten up again. For Karin, she took a lot of pride having Naruto know that a lady should truly do go first, but then again, she knew that this friendship of theirs was only truly beginning and she looked forward to growing the bond she had with him. Now Naruto, I hope you really learn your lesson after this pain session. Karin exclaimed as she tightened the chokehold she had on the blonde. It has been a few days since Team 7 and the Redeed arrived at the tower, and as the days passed by a few more teams from various villages began to arrive one at a time. In fact, every team from Konoha had arrived, plus a few from Suna that looked like they meant business, and much to Karin's amusement, no team from the smaller villages of Aim, Kusa and Taki arrived, but it was like she cared at all when it came to Kusa. Kakashi had returned hours prior to give the heads up that the third part of the Chunin exams will begin in just a few short hours after the Anbu finishes scouting the forest to make sure there were no teams left in the forest, though the silver-haired Jonin was annoyed at the amount of coffins will be ordered and how many funerals will be in session. Since Naruto and his teammates were now well rested being the first team here, he was currently indulged in a sparring match with his new Redeeded best friend. The two had taken the opportunity to grow closer the last few days, and what better way to bond than to kick each other's ass. Naruto had trained plenty under Kakashi's supervision and was a very well-versed shinobi in hand-to-hand combat, but somehow and some way Karin proved to be the better fighter, and this shocked the blonde as he didn't expect her to be this good that she would put him down in 2.5 seconds. Plus, the fact that he tried to make himself eat breakfast first also resulted in the Redeed becoming comically stronger than anyone the blonde knew. Ow ow ow. Karin, that hurts. Naruto gagged. Being a shinobi means you live a life of pain, now get used to it you wuss. Exclaimed Karin. The Redeed then picked Naruto up by his ankles and proceeded to spin around, causing the blonde to flail around like a ragdoll. The speed of which she was spinning was so fast my guy would be dizzy trying to keep up with her. The Redeed then let Naruto go and the blonde was sent flying into the wall with a thunderous crash that shook the whole room and started up a dust cloud. Damn, I think I threw him a little too hard. Hope I didn't hurt him. Karin thought as the dust cloud began to diminish. Then, out of the blue she felt a pair of arms wrap under her shoulders and looking over it, she spotted a grinning Naruto. Gotcha. Wait, he used a clone jutsu, the Redeed thought in disbelief. Hearing footsteps from in front of her, the Redeed looked forward and saw Naruto running at her ready to deliver the final blow. Ha! Bet you didn't expect me to use my shadow clone jutsu, Karin. Exclaimed the blonde. Being held down by the shadow clone left Karin helpless, but the facial expression that plastered her face showed that she wasn't afraid of losing the spar. She just watched as the real Naruto approached her with his fists ready to knock her lights out, and as soon as the blonde team came within kicking distance, Karin elbowed the clone, causing it to dispel in a puff of smoke, before immediately setting her sights on the real Naruto, and he was caught completely off guard when Karin delivered a kick hitting him right in the groin, stopping him in his tracks. The blonde boy yelped in pain and clutched his aching spot and fell on his knees. Ugh. My dumplings, he squealed. He then fell over reeling in pain, much to Karin's amusement as she smiled. Ah. He's so cute when he's in pain. Karin thought in amusement. That was until she saw how much pain the blonde was in from her kicking him very hard there. I think I kicked him a little too hard. Naruto. Dear Kami. My dumplings have been popped. Muttered the blonde. Karin quickly made her way to the reeling blonde and bent down beside him and placed her hands on his forearm and shoulder. Her face sporting a genuine worried look. Naruto, I didn't mean to hit you that hard, I'm sorry. Just then Naruto sprung up, surprising Karin with a huge grin on his face. Gotcha. That's when she realized the blonde was just faking his pain and suffering. Naruto, you liar. Why would you fake being in pain like that? Do you know how worried I was beginning to feel? Ahahaha. You should have seen the look on your face. That big grin turned upside down to a frown. Man, I cracked myself up. Naruto got out between laughs. Once again, like a few times before, a tick mark, the biggest one ever seen on her, formed on her head and a glint appeared in her glasses. A wickedly evil smile formed on her face, and unknown to Naruto, who was still laughing like crazy, she cracked her knuckles in her neck in preparation to give the blonde the worst pain he had ever experienced in his life. Performing a hand seal, she made a single, small chakra chain appear out of her wrist, and while Naruto was busy laughing, she took the chance to sneak up on him and with great speed, wraps the chain around his neck. Ack. You like pretending to be in pain, huh? If so, I'll give you real pain. Karin growled as her eyes were now replaced with fire. The Redeed pulled back hard on the chain, inadvertently tightening the grip and choke on the blonde that he was beginning to tear up from the pressure the chain was applying to his neck. Ayek. Ayek. Karin, please stop. Naruto cried out. No. You want to fake pain, you're gonna get the real deal from me. Feeling the chain being forced a lot tighter, the blonde summoned as much strength he can muster and managed to knock Karin off of him, dispelling the chain in the process. Oof. Naruto then spun around and grabbed Karin by her wrists and gently, ever so gently, threw her down to the ground and pinned her to the mat. Hey, get off me, Naruto, demanded Karin. No way. Now it's my turn to show you I'm the boss of our friendship, said Naruto. No freaking way. I'm the lady, so the lady should be the boss. I'm the boss. No, I am. While they were arguing, the door to the sparring room opened and in walked Sasuke, Sakura and Kakashi, and the first thing the three of them saw was Naruto and Karin in a very inappropriate position. Sakura almost choked on her own spit at the very sight of such a thing, while Sasuke simply turned around to look the other way. Kakashi began to giggle to himself seeing the two teenagers. Simply put, Naruto and Karin were in the missionary position. So, do you two want to take this to your room? The Jonin questioned. Hearing Kakashi's voice, the two teenagers looked to the side and saw the Jonin with his signature eye smile, and they both immediately separated from each other with massive blushes on their faces. We were just training. Naruto said defensively. Why yeah. He managed to pin me to the ground is all. Karin said. He knew that they were just sparring, but being young and possibly hormonal teenagers, he thought it would be a good laugh to get teasing about such things. Anyway, we've come to tell you guys that the next part of the exams will begin in about an hour or so go up to your rooms, collect any of your belongings that you may have left in there, and meet the three of us at that really huge door on the opposite end of the hallway from the entrance of the building, okay? Yes, sensei. Naruto and Karin said in unison. Oh? Look at that, you're both talking at the same time. It's a sign of love. Kakashi teased. Chan, sensei, would you quit teasing them? You're making Karin blush redder than her hair. Sasuke said while shaking his head. Sakura was just getting annoyed about Kakashi bugging the two teens about such a topic, so not saying a word she just looked at the blonde and redeed. Kakashi-sensei, the preliminaries will start soon. Oh, that's right. I'll meet you guys at that big door I mentioned a few seconds ago, so go and get your stuff. Be seeing you in a few minutes. With that, Kakashi, Sakura and Sasuke left the spar room, leaving the redeed and the blonde alone. The two teenagers standing there taking in what Kakashi had said. So should we go? Naruto asked, breaking the silence. Yeah, you've got the exams to take anyway, don't want to be late. Karin said. The two teens then dashed out of the sparring room and ran upstairs to gather their belongings. Preliminary room. That's quite impressive, we predicted that only 5 teams would prevail through the forest, looks like we have at least 19, more than expected. Here is in Saratobi, the third Hokage of Konoha thought in amusement as he looked over the teams. There was a team from Iwa, a team from Kiri, 2 teams from Suna, 1 from Kumo, and the rest were from Kusa, Aim, Taki, and the entire Rookie 9 group from his village, as well as an additional team that was under the supervision of Might Guy. Welcome everyone, as some of you may not know I am Hiruzen Sarutobi, the third Hokage of Konoha. I want to congratulate you all for making it this far into the exams. As I'm sure you've been told a few times by your sensei's passing, this will take you another step further into your ninja careers, and you all should be proud of making it this far. Usually we would move on to the final portion of the exams, but with how many teams that made it this far, we're going to add another part to the test right now. Naruto raised his hand. Oh. Old man, I have a question. Karin almost went slack-jawed at the complete lack of respect her blonde friend had for someone like the Hokage and almost slapped him for it, but figured that Hiruzen wouldn't take kindly to a foreign kunoichi hitting one of his own, so she decided to let it slide. What would that question be, Naruto? What kind of test are you doing now since you said a lot of teams made it through that crazy forest? As usual, Naruto's headstrong personality made the Hokage chuckle. He was just such a goofball sometimes. It's simple, Naruto, we're going to have a fighting tournament as a means of eliminating more candidates so we can move on to the final portion of the exams. Oh, that sounds pretty cool. Exclaimed Naruto. As he was looking at the blonde boy, he happened to notice a tuft of red hair right beside the blonde with a Kusa headband, and he quirked an eyebrow as he had never seen Karin before. Being the Hokage, it was usual for people who were listening to him speak to look in the direction he was looking, so every team in the room looked back to see Team 7, specifically Karin. What are they doing with a foreign kunoichi? Kiba Inuzuka, one of the rookie 9 thought. What a drag, we were fine having a pinkhead, now we have a redeed. Seriously, such a drag. Shikamaru Nara, another member of the rookie 9 thought. Who's your friend, Naruto? The Hokage questioned. Naruto noticed that he was looking past him, and he turned around to see that the old man was actually eyeing Karin, so he smiled since he can introduce his new friend to his favorite old man. This is Karin and she's from Kusa. I met her in the forest a few days ago, and I saved her when some weirdos from Iowa tried to pick on her. Naruto exclaimed in his usual boisterous tone. Don't be shy, Karin, say hi to the Hokage. The redeed tried to hide behind Naruto, but the blonde insisted on her saying hi to the Hokage. Come on, Karin, don't be shy. Say hi to my favorite old man. Karin slowly moved out from behind Naruto, and all the eyes looking at her made her feel stage fright and a bit shy. Ignoring all the looks she was getting from the other genin, she slowly put a hand up and waved at the Hokage. Hi, I'm Karin, from Kusagakure. She said shyly. Hiruzen smiled at the girl's shyness and waved back at her. It's a pleasure to meet you, Karin, and what a story. To know one of my shinobi went out of his way to save a foreign kunoichi is quite a feat. But this is Naruto we're talking about here, so it is no surprise to me, the boy has always been the type to help others in need, no matter who they are. Naruto scratched the back of his head and laughed out nervously, while his teammates just shook their heads, but it was done in amusement. Of course, he probably also did it to get praise from the Hokage. You're such a dope sometimes. Sasuke thought. Hope you don't go out of your way to help every single foreign shinobi you see, Naruto. I'd hate to think what would happen if you saved someone from Iowa. Sakura thought to herself. Seeing that it was time to get back to business, the third Hokage cleared his throat, getting the attention of all the genin teams. Alright then, allow me to pass this on to one of my jonin, Anko. Naruto, Sasuke, Sakura and Karin all shivered hearing the proctor's name and watched as she walked up to speak to the teams. Nice to see you all again, hope you had fun in my playground because it seems we're down more than half the teams that made it through the written portion of the exam. She said sadistically. Anyway, what the Hokage said is true, usually we don't do this, but since a lot of you passed the forest portion of this, we're gonna have to do a fighting tournament to eliminate more people. Before we begin, is there anyone here who feels like they can't continue on due to fatigue, injury or other reasons? The genin all discussed among themselves for several minutes before turning their attention back toward the purple-haired woman who smirked seeing that there were no candidates who wanted to chicken out. Karin, you don't have a team so I don't think you can continue on, so you should raise your hand. Naruto suggested. Yeah, it looks like you can only continue on if you have a team and an able-bodied one at that. No shame in telling them you don't want to continue. Sasuke whispered. Agreed, after what you've been through it's better to take this time to restore your strength, no use in fighting when you're tired. Sakura added. Karin shook her head in response. No way you guys, I want to continue on. You guys are basically my team now, even though I'm foreign I want to show everyone here, specifically your Hokage what a Kusa Kunoichi can do, since I'm the only one from my village that's even here. I'm not wasting this opportunity to kick some ass. The redeed said with determination. Without saying another word, Karin walked out from the crowd of genin and stood in front of them and looked at the Hokage with fire in her eyes. Hokage-sama, while I am the only genin from Kusa here and my team had been killed in the forest, I still want to participate in this to show my skills as a kunoichi. Technically I am part of Naruto's team since he saved me and their sensei didn't have a problem with that. Right, Kakashi-sensei? Here is in turn to look at Kakashi, who had his eye smile thing going. Is that true, Kakashi? You have no problem with having an unofficial fourth member, let alone a foreign one on your team? Kakashi shook his head. Not at all, Hokage-sama. If Naruto was the one who brought her to safety with the team, then I have no problem with having her. I can tell she is a skilled kunoichi and I would like to see what she is made of myself. Satisfied with his answer, the Hokage looked back at Karin, who was overjoyed with happiness at Kakashi's acceptance of her. Well then, Karin of Kusa, you may participate in the elimination rounds. Karin lowered her head in respect. Thank you, Hokage-sama. She then makes her way back to Naruto and the two gave each other high fives. Sweet. I can't to see you kick some serious butt, declared the blonde. Anko whistled to get the attention of the crowd once more before taking out a scroll and unrolling it. Okay everyone, before we begin I want to read the rules of the elimination rounds. Rule number 1, there are no rules. You can use everything you want from your ninja tools to any Kekkei Genkai you have and the fights will end when one candidate gives in, is incapacitated or dies. Also, like the forest, Konoha will not be held responsible for any impending deaths that are likely to occur, since this is an anything goes fight like with your previous endeavor. Last chance for anyone who wants to keep their life to give in now then be sorry later. Anko explained and she smirked sadistically seeing on one give in. Alright then, please turn your attention to the screen on the top left of the wall and we will have our first fight. Looking up, the crowd watched a screen turn on and it began to cycle through all the names of the current candidates for about a minute before coming to a complete halt. Sasuke Uchiha vs Shino Aburam. Okay. Looks like we're having a battle between members of two of Konoha's most prominent clans. Would you two please step up while the rest of you head over to the balconies? Anko shouted in excitement. The other candidates and other jonin in the room went up to the balconies while Sasuke and Shino stayed below and eyed each other with looks of determination. Having known each other since the academy, they both knew that the other would do whatever it takes to win this fight. Sasuke, Shino, please get into ready positions. Anko said, pointing to the floor in front of her. The two genin walked and stood with Anko in between them and they both smirked at each other. Even though he was wearing shades, Sasuke can't tell he had excitement in those eyes of his. Naruto, Sakura, Kakashi and Karin were watching from above and the latter two were cheering for their teammate. "Get him, Sasuke." Naruto shouted at the top of his lungs. "Shino is a really good strategist, Sasuke, so be careful," Sakura called out. I wonder how Sasuke plans on dealing with Shino's bugs. I know he had already awakened his Sharingan, but that would be very unnecessary in this fight, Kakashi thought. Despite already possessing great skill and inheriting it from his Uchiha lineage, Sasuke knew that without the cheering and support of his team, he would be nothing, so he simply gives them a thumbs up. Yahoo! Go Shino, show Sasuke how training has made you, Kiba shouted. Good luck, Shino. Hinata Hyuga thought to herself. Sasuke is no pushover, it's going to be hard to take an Uchiha in a fight. Be careful, Shino. Kurina Yuhi thought. With the two genin ready, Anko raises her hand up and gives a quick glance to each of them before throwing her hand downward. Begin. As soon as the signal was given, both Sasuke and Shino charged straight for each other, with Shino throwing a punch while Sasuke threw a kick and both attacks intercepted each other with such force that the boys grunted quietly to themselves from the slight pain due to the impact. I never knew you had such speed in you, Shino. Sasuke sneered. I can say the same thing for you, Sasuke, though it shouldn't be surprising, you might even be faster than Lee. Shino replied before shooting his head forward trying to catch Sasuke off guard with a headbutt, but the Uchiha boy reaches upward with a palm and blocks the attack, leaving both boys in a struggle for control of the situation. Knowing that Sasuke was possibly physically stronger than him, Shino opened up his free palm and pointed at his opponent. Sasuke noticed that a small horde of insects began to emerge from the sleeve of his coat. Damn, he's trying to get his insects on me, but it's not gonna work, Sasuke thought as he brings his kunai up trying to slice into Shino's arm, but seeing this, the Aburam reacted quickly by pulling his arm back, just narrowly losing it in the process. Jumping back, Shino performs a hand seal, and a second later a swarm of his bugs flew out of his coat and formed into a Shino joined the fight that manages to catch Sasuke from the back. The Shino that grabbed him from behind began to turn black and Sasuke almost shivered in disgust seeing what he was turning into. Okay, that's kind of gross. Sasuke thought as he watched the Shino that had him pinned turn into insects. Hearing something in front of him, Sasuke looks forward and spots Shino slowly walking up to him as the insects began to crawl onto his body. Looks like I caught you with an insect clone, Sasuke. Now, I will give you two options to choose from and you should choose wisely. Option 1, you can surrender and I'll call my insects off, or 2, I will order my insects to begin draining you of your chakra to the point of knocking out for several days until you fully recover. So which one will it be? Shino asked. The Uchiha felt the insects begin to crawl all over him as the clone completely turns into a horde of the insects and they slowly crawled onto his body, but that didn't deter Sasuke one bit. Looking at Shino, he merely smirks at his opponent who narrows his eyes in confusion. Come on Shino, you think using your clan's insects will do anything against an Uchiha? My clan's specialty with a certain element can easily counter these bugs. Sasuke sneered before performing a series of hand seals. Sasuke then dashed forward as fast as he could sending the insects flying off his body from the intense speed and quickly delivers a powerful punch to Shino's jaw, sending his adversary to the ground. Quickly turning around he sees the bugs begin to make their way toward him and takes a deep breath. High release. Fireball Jutsu. Exhaling, he releases a powerful blast of fire from his mouth that engulfs the insects and Shino can only look on in horror as his companions were roasted in front of him. Sasuke no. The Aburam shouted. Sasuke continued to roast the insects with his jutsu for a good minute before finally ceasing his attack and when the smoke cleared the insects were revealed to be reduced to nothing but ashes and small black splotches on the ground. Grinning to himself he turns to face Shino who still had the look of horror on his face. Holy crap, I know how important those creepy crawlies are to the Aburam, damn Sasuke that's kinda messed up. Naruto thought with a sweat drop on his forehead. At least we won't have to deal with Shino being creepy with his bugs anymore. Sakura thought in relief. Aburam clan? Sounds like a bunch of creeps who sleep with bugs, literally. Karin thought in disgust. Okay, that's really messed up. Oh well, Anko did say that this is an anything goes fight like the forest. Kakashi thought. Well now, how do you like that for roasted insects Shino? I've read up on your clan and how important the insects are to you, so I figured if I get rid of them, you lose a lot of combat effectiveness. Just like Inyazuka are with their hounds. I have two options for you, you can either continue fighting, but it will be a struggle now that I got rid of your bugs, or you can just call the fight to an end and you can leave here without being beaten to a pulp. Shino gritted his teeth in anger, sure he was on good terms with the Uchiha, but he never thought he would go as far as to burn his insects. Not wanting to give up he decided to see how well he would do in a fight without his insects coming to his aid. So getting up from his knees he draws several shuriken and hurls the projectiles at Sasuke who responds by tossing several kunai back at him and the weapons impact each other halfway between the boys, the sound of metal clanging filling the air. Shino then rushes forward and throws a punch at Sasuke who manages to catch it in the palm of his hand. With his punch unsuccessful Shino reveals a kunai knife hidden in his sleeve and thrusts it hoping to get Sasuke in the gut, but the Uchiha censors his belly in and chops Shino's hand downward, causing the knife to fly out of his grip. Picking it up Sasuke then slices Shino on the right arm, making the boy grimace in pain before slicing into his hamstring, putting him on one knee. Shino was left howling in pain and the next move Sasuke did was kicking the Aburam directly in the chin from below. The kick was strong enough to launch Shino into the air helpless and with his opponent right where he wanted him, he leaps up and begins to do a series of powerful kicks all over Shino's body. Each hit sending the sound of flesh being pummeled echoing throughout the room, causing many of the spectators to cringe at the noise. After performing a series of kicks, Sasuke finishes Shino off by kicking him one more time in certain areas of his body from his side, his knee, his arms and finally, he twists in midair and delivers a hook kick into his gut that sends him and Shino straight toward the ground and the impact creates a crater. The force of the hit from Sasuke's kick made Shino gag. It felt as if his stomach exploded from how strong the kick was. Shino no. Kiba screamed. Oh no, it looks like this is Sasuke's win. Hinata whispered. Sasuke leaps out from the crater and stands tall over the beaten Shino, who begins to cough for a moment before looking at his opponent. Ami Sasuke, you didn't have to do that to a fellow Konoha shinobi. Shino said in between coughs. Kurenai can only shake her head in disappointment as she watched her genin get beaten by Kakashi's. Nonetheless it was a good battle to her. Anko-sensei did say it was an anything-goes battle, so I did what I can to win in the most non-lethal way. I mean, to be fair, you were going to drain me of my chakra, which may have killed me, so think of this as a little payback, Shino. Sasuke said before turning to face Anko. Anko nods before walking over to Sasuke and takes his hand into hers and raises it high. The winner of the first fight is Sasuke-cha. Naruto and Sakura began to jump for joy, while Kakashi smiled. Heck yeah. That's our Sasuke. Naruto shouted. Yes. That's one win for Team 7. Sakura exclaimed happily. Great job, your mother would be very proud, Sasuke. Kakashi thought in pure joy. Shino was picked up by a few medic nin and carried out in a stretcher, but not before asking them to stop so he can say a few words to Sasuke. Honestly, I can just breed a new colony of insects, Sasuke. It was a good battle and it censored that I wasn't able to use them to drain your chakra and knock you out. Next time, Shino, we'll see how the fight goes if we go at it again, for now just rest up. Sasuke said, extending a hand out. Both boys shook hands, and their senseis smiled at the sight of good sportsmanship between fellow shinobi. He looks down to Anko and nods for her to continue the fights. Hiruzen, who was watching from the stand reserved for the Hokage, looked on proudly at the splendid battle between two of his shinobi. This is really going to be an interesting batch of matches from what I can tell. Clever use of that technique, Sasuke. Shino, you may have lost, but be proud of your efforts. Alright, now, with the first match out of the way, let's see who comes second. Anko said, pointing at the screen. The screen turns on and scrambles up the names for a good minute before the next set of candidates were decided. Zaku Abumi vs Gaara. Zaku from Odo and Gaara from Suna, please step up. Anko said authoritatively. One of the Odo genin leaped down onto the battle floor, while a boy with red hair from Suna shunshined with his sand to join Anko and his opponent. Zaku sneered at his opponent and pointed his hands at the redeeted boy and opens them, revealing 2 holes in his palms. Hey, I did not give the order to start yet, but if you're so eager to begin, I can call the fight to start now. Said Anko as she raises a hand into the air. She then looks at Gaara. Are you ready, Gaara? The Suna teen only nods in silence, and with that Anko threw her hand downward to start the fight. Begin. Pointing his hands at Gaara's, Zaku grins menacingly as he knew Gaara was not well versed into jutsu, so he wanted to finish the Suna boy off in one fell swoop. Slicing sound wave. Before his attack can activate, sand began to gather around Zaku, and he was caught off guard. The sand began to wrap around his arms, completely engulfing them, until the limbs looked like they were really made of the earthly material. What? What's going on? Zaku cried out. Gaara had a hand outward controlling the jutsu, and everyone was watching, wondering what was going to happen to the Odo genin save for 2 other Suna genin. Oh man, really? Right in front of all these people? Kankuro thought while shaking his head. Come on, Gaara, save the gore for later. Tamari thought to herself. Zaku began to whimper in fear when he felt the sand that surrounded him become tighter around his limbs. Gaara kept a straight face as he then clenched his hand shut, and just as he did that, Zaku began to scream horribly in pain as the sand imploded, crushing both his arms in the process. Zaku fell over in pain as he began to convulse from such shock, and Anko quickly called the match to an end, and Medic Nin rushed over to Zaku to give him immediate treatment. Yeah, so, the winner of Gaara from Sunagaker, congratulations. Anko exclaimed. Gaara only watched his wreathing opponent before shunshining back to his brother and sister, the 2 siblings not wanting to say anything to their youngest brother, so they just gave him congratulatory pats. After the commotion was settled, the screen turned on once more and cycled through all the names until the next pair of candidates showed up. Karin vs Choji Akimichi. Now, would Karin from Kusa and Choji Akimichi please come down? Anko asked politely. Choji, the only fat genin within the rookie 9, became full of energy when his name was called, and steam began to come out of his nose and ears due to his excitement. I'm gonna show that chubby's rule. Exclaimed the obese boy. Good luck, Choji. Ino and Shikamaru said as their teammate jumped down to the floor. Karin, on the other hand, did not have any hint of excitement in her eyes as she eyed the massively fat boy with disgust. Okay, that is really the fattest kid I've ever seen in my life. Go show that Akamunchi who's boss, Karin. Kick his butt. Naruto shouted as she made her way to the floor. When she stood before the large boy, she swore the Akimichi was a mouth-breathing turd. Her hunch was right, Choji was really breathing with his mouth open. You're going down and I'm gonna make your face bloody red like that hair, and I'm making all 4 of your eyes into black eyes. Choji exclaimed with a finger pointed at the girl. The tick mark formed on her head and Karin instantly went into angry mode with an evil glint in her eyes. What did you say to me, Abesius? What did you call me, tomato? Karin and Choji then butt their foreheads against one another's as static electricity was forming in between their faces and everyone in the room sweat dropped. Anko on the other hand found great amusement in the current situation and decided not to call the match to start, so she backed up a bit to let the two go at it without her permission. This is gonna be fun. I call dibs on Karin. She thought. Like Anko, Hiruzen felt something about Karin was familiar to him from how her hair was, and he felt like she looked like someone he knew from a few years back when the Kyuubi attacked their village. There's something about that hair of hers, there's a clan that has that particular shade of red in their hair. Could she be one of them? The Hokage thought to himself. Kakashi was on the same boat as his Hokage. Why does that shade of red look familiar? I haven't seen it in years, is it possible she's related to daughter? Could she and Naruto be? There's no way there are any living members after what happened in Uzushio. While all these thoughts going through their minds, Karin and Choji were shouting insults at each other, but each time they insulted one another they only grew more angrier. The abatus, wide load, mouth-breathing moron, you're so fat you look like a plastic bag filled with cellulite and you move like you're waddling through a pool of jello. Karin growled. Your hair makes you look like a tomato. Choji retorted. It was clear Karin was going to be the winner of the verbal exchange, and Naruto only looked on in both amusement and confusion. You know, she's actually really cute when she gets angry. I said you are a tomato. Tomato. Choji shouted as he tried to make himself appear much larger than he already was hoping to intimidate Karin. Redeed however wasn't fazed by his fatness, and she bravely stood her ground taking his insults toward her and spitting even better ones back at him. I'd rather be a tomato than some fat slob with no neck. You're also a mouth-breathing retard and fat acceptance is death acceptance. The Redeed spat back. Everyone else in the room, whether it be the Hokage, every other Jonin sensei or even the other candidates, just watched the exchange with various facial expressions. Kakashi was just reading his Make-Out Paradise book, while his students Sasuke and Sakura had deadpan expressions and Naruto on the other hand, he was just looking on with a big smile plastered on his face and was cheering for Karin while also shouting out insults that Karin could use against Choji. Hey. Call that Akamunchi the blob who ate his whole family because I've never seen anyone from his clan but him. Shouted the blonde. Naruto, don't go that far. Kakashi said, never taking his eyes off his book. Actually that was pretty funny, what else do you got, kiddo? Karin almost died of laughter when she heard Naruto shout out the insult. Yeah, you heard what my friend said, fat ass, did you eat your whole clan to get that obese? Choji tried to think of something to counter the clever insult but couldn't come up with anything to say to either Naruto or Karin. Keep your mouth shut, Naruto, this is between me and the tomato. The fat boy shouted. How about you keep your mouth shut and stop eating so much, fat ass? Karin snorted. The Akimichi boy grew even more frustrated with each insult Karin was shouting at him, and the fat boy smacked his man censored like a sumo wrestler and raised on foot and stomped the ground with it. Let's see if your fighting skills are as good as your insults, tomato. In response to Choji's show of intimidation, which obviously did not work on her, she cracked her knuckles and adjusted her glasses, a glint visible for a split second in the lens. Bring it on, big guy. Anko was filled with glee now that the match was finally beginning, but she definitely enjoyed the witty banter between the two genin. Suo, are you two done roasting each other, what? She asked. Both genin Nod and Choji blew air out of his nose like a bull, and that only served to annoy Karin. Just give the signal so I can kick this fat censored's ass. Call the match so I can crush this tomato. Anko held her hands up in mock surrender and feigned fear from the demanding genin. Alright, sheesh, begin. The Akimichi boy immediately rushed toward the girl, but thanks to his obesity, he only took about 3.5 steps before he began to breath loudly and had to stop to catch his breath. Oh man, that took a lot out of me. The boy panted. The members of Team 7 shook their heads as Choji was always like this, always running out of stamina in 2.5 seconds. Karin saw this as an advantage and quickly rushed forward and punched Choji as hard as he could, but when her fist connected with the boy's face, his fatness was further proved with his fat absorbed the blow. Karin went wide-eyed and swore she punched a bag full of cellulite. She then directed a kick and put as much force into it as she could, but the attack was met with the same result, and Choji only laughed evilly as his stomach absorbed Karin's kick. How are you really that fat? The now confused Redeed shouted. Choji sported a wicked smile on his face and wiggled a finger to show that he disapproved of Karen's futile attempts to harm him. I may be a bit bigger than most people, but that means I'll be eating attacks for days. Take this. The Akimichi then punched Karin right in the nose and the Redeed was sent staggering backward clutching her now bleeding nose. Damn it. For a fat censored you punch really hard. Karin growled. Also, did you just really made a fat joke about yourself, you eat attacks for days, no wonder you're so censoring fat, you're swollen from getting punched so much. Choji then snorted like a pig and performed a series of hand seals. I'm gonna end this fight just as quick as it started. There's no way you can counter my clan's jutsu tomato, so you're as good as dead. Human boulder. Karin almost squealed in disgust when Choji began to tuck his arms into his shirt, then his legs, and then his head sunk beneath the collar in his shirt, and in a small blast of smoke, the fat boy became even more fat and he expanded into a massive ball, and the Redeed swore she could smell his sweaty, disgusting natural scent when he transformed. What the hell? Boy, I thought you couldn't get any fatter, but I was proven wrong. Karin snorted. Her insult as usual served to annoy Choji, and the boy began to spin wildly, causing the room to shake a bit from the velocity he was spinning at. Watch your mouth. Time to turn you into mashed tomatoes. The fat genin then sped toward the Redeed and of course, being a fat kid, Anko was forced to leap away to avoid getting squashed by the excess layer of fat the boy had on him, and this left Karin right in the path of Choji's approaching attack. Choji came flying at Karin at such speeds the Redeed nor anyone else in the room expected the next thing. Choji's boulder form of a body collided with Karin, and the girl was hit with so much force that she was sent flying backward toward the wall, and the impact of her hitting it caused her to cave the wall in at least 10 feet. Ah! Karin cried out in pain. Karin, are you okay? Naruto cried out. Holy crap, for a fat kid I never expected the Akimichi to move that fast. Sasuke quipped. He could have killed Karin with that. Sakura shouted. Although Kakashi had already taken a liking for Karin, he couldn't help but disagree with his students. Well. To be fair you guys, death is expected and welcomed in this portion of the exams. Choji spun back around and came to a complete halt to admire his handiwork. Ha. How's it feel, tomato? Not so funny now that you just got wrecked by a chubby. Grunting in pain, Karin managed to get herself out from the small hole in the wall, and when she stepped out into the light she was starting to bruise up and she was a bit shaky from taking such a powerful blow. A slight nosebleed was visible as well, but the Redeed did not let that deter her. Is that all you got, fat ass? You're gonna need more than turning into a bowl of jello to take me down. Karin looked around and saw that all eyes were on her, and she felt compelled to not use this one special trait she had, but due to the blow Choji delivered with that human boulder technique, she knew that if another one hit her, she'd either be knocked out or that she'd die from blunt force trauma. Damn it, I guess I'll have to use my heel bite. The redeeded girl then gently and slightly lifted up a sleeve to her top just enough to expose the skin of her wrist, and knowing all eyes were on her. She then took her thumb and bit down on it, and in a second she became surrounded by a greenish aura, taking everybody in the room by surprise. What the? The tomato just turned into a lime, Choji exclaimed as he was still spinning. Whoa. What is going on? Naruto said surprisingly. She's biting herself. Why would she do that? Sakura questioned incredulously. HN, this is something new, maybe she has some Kekkei Genkai of her own. Sasuke whispered to himself. Kakashi and Hiruzen were eyeing Karin with curiosity as they had never seen anyone bite themselves in order to perform a healing, and they were confused as to how she was doing this. That one clan was known for having members that can sustain even the most fatal injuries and they don't die right away. Karin took a full hit from the human boulder and yet she is still standing and appears to not have any broken bones. Kakashi thought. I haven't seen anyone take a hit like that since the Kyuubi's attack. She really has to be one of them. Hiruzen thought, his pipe barely hanging in his mouth due to it being open. Everyone in the room watched in confusion as the aura that surrounded Karin continued to emanate, and they saw that the bruises and cuts she got from hitting the wall healed near instantly, and this shocked and left them all confused even more save for Kakashi and Hiruzen, who began to put the pieces together. Choji halted his spinning, and even though he had his head tucked into his fat body, he could still see his surroundings, how he was way behind everybody else in the room. So you're a medic, ninja tomato? No matter, I'll just keep going until I turn you into mashed tomatoes. You nerd, I bet you can't figure out a way to counter my clan jutsu. Here I come. Choji gloated before spinning at a high speed again. The fat boy zoomed straight at Karin and feeling rejuvenated from her healing technique the Redeed, now knowing that this is Choji's only battle style, effortlessly leaped out of the way and grabbed several paper bombs from her pouch. Alright, since he inflated himself to get even fatter, there's no way a regular attack such as a punch or stabbing him with a kunai will work, so I guess I'll have to rattle him up a bit from the inside with some explosives. I won't kill the fat ass though. Karin thought with a mischievous grin. Choji expanded himself to a much larger size to the chagrin and disgust of Karin and everyone else in the room, and the obese boy rolled forward, but Karin took notice that he was moving at a much slower pace. "I'm gonna squish you, tomato," exclaimed the fat boy. The Akimichi then rolled forward, but thanks to his increased size, he was moving at a much slower speed to the amusement of Karin. "Well then, guess it's true that some bigger people have a hard time moving around," Karin thought as she watched a big boy approach her. She effortlessly leaps to the side like a rabbit, and Choji turns around to try and run her over with his mass, only for the girl to dodge again. The two of them repeated their actions for a good 10 minutes, and everyone watched the two play cat and mouse as Karin hopped like a bunny to avoid the Akimichi's rolling, and soon enough Choji lost control of his mass and careened into the wall with enough force to crash and get himself stuck in it. "Crap. Give me a second to get out, tomato, and then I'll crush you," exclaimed the boy. Choji then began to try and pull himself out of the wall, but he was visibly struggling, and Karin couldn't help but burst out laughing at the amusing sight. "Geez, I could become the 10th Hokage by the time you get your fat ass out." Redeed then took out a handful of paper bombs and punched them into Choji's massive body, and the Akimichi only laughed at what he thought were Karin's futile attempts to hurt him. "Haha. You forgot that punches can't hurt me," gloated the Akimichi. "Hold on, is she going to take Choji out with a boom?" "Asuma Saratobi," Choji-sensei thought. "Choji, hurry up and get your fat body out of the wall and mess this tomato up," Ino screamed at the top of her lungs. Karin grinned as she withdrew her hand, and the paper bombs weren't in her hand anymore, and a grin plastered her face as she leaped back a few feet. "I wasn't planning on punching you to finish you, fatso." The plume of smoke began to seep out of the depressed area of skin where Karin had punched, and Choji felt the burning sensation and began to make noises of clear discomfort. What the heck is? Why? A small, muffled explosion was heard and a few flames and another plume of smoke came out of Choji, and the boy began to scream as he began to rattle violently, thanks to the shock waves the explosions caused in his body, and a moment would pass before his human boulder jutsu was dispelled, and he reverted back to his less chubby appearance, dazed, drooling and unconscious. His eyes replaced by swirls. Karin stood tall and proud over the fat boy and smirked successfully at her effective strategy and adjusted her glasses. Sloppy, you do know that our bodies are made of 70% water, guess you're more brawn over brains, fat boy." Anko almost jumped for joy when she saw that Karin, whom she was rooting for, had won her match, but she knew she had to refrain from doing such a thing to appear professional. "And this here match goes to Karin from Kusa. Good job, tomato, I mean Karin. Woo. Way to go. You did good," Sakura called out. Good work showing that kid he's unfit to be a ninja, literally unfit," Sasuke half-assedly called out. Instead of praising the Redeed, Kakashi had his eyes narrowed on the girl the whole time, as if he was trying to figure something out, but it was unclear at this point as to what he was trying to find out about Karin. He decided to bring it up to the Hokage later. Hiruzen was in the same boat as Kakashi and knew he had to bring this up to the masked Jonin. The members of Choji's team, specifically Ino, weren't very happy about the obese boy losing. "Censored that Redeed, she cheated. Get up, Choji, squish her," Ino shouted in anger. "Oh man, what a drag," Shikamaru thought. The praise she was receiving, especially from Naruto, made her blush more red than her hair. Karin displays great strategy against a physically superior opponent. I can tell she is a very intelligent young lady, and not to mention her ability to heal herself near instantaneously is making me believe my suspicions to be true, the Hokage thought. Karin then made her way back up to join the genin from Team 7 and was met with a hug from Naruto, and the blush she had from earlier was put to shame by the new one she sported now as the blonde held her tightly. "I knew you could do it, Karin. You're the best," Naruto praised. Thanks, Naruto, but honestly it was nothing. I knew that fatty's jutsu was his only move, so it wasn't hard to deduct how he was going to fight," the girl said, playing it cool. After the medical team had retrieved the unconscious Choji, Anko settled everyone down for the next match. "Would everyone please turn their attention to the screen?" The screen turned on and began cycling through the names of the other contestants for about a minute before the next pair of fighters were chosen. Neji Hyuga vs Shikamaru Nara. This will be nothing. Neji thought to himself with a smirk. Shikamaru, the pineapple-haired kid in Choji's team, almost faced palm at having to fight as he was very lazy. Oh man, what a stupid freaking drag. You two maggots hurry up and make your way down here so we can see one of you get your ass beat. Anko exclaimed boisterously. Neji did as he was told and hopped down beside Anko, and the two looked up to see Shikamaru just standing there staring into space with his hands in his pocket. Well Nara. Are you going to just stand there and be lazy because that's your destiny? Or are you coming down to fight me? Neji questioned irritably. Shikamaru looked toward his sensei and saw that Asuma was urging him to go down and fight. Come on Shikamaru, you joined the academy so you're gonna have to deal with all this ninja stuff whether you like it or not. Said the Jonin. Yeah, what's the point of being a ninja when all you say everything is a drag? We had to drag you here so me and Choji can participate. Ino grumbled. Ugh, what a drag, fine, I'll get down and fight just this one match, and this will be my last for a while. Groaned the Nara. Shikamaru leaped down and landed in front of Neji and beside Anko, the usual look that plastered his face still visible, and he only shook his head. Good, I thought that you would be a coward Nara. Neji spat. Anko then raised her hand as Neji got into his clan's signature fighting position, while Shikamaru continued to stand there with his hands in his pockets. Begin. 8 trigrams, 64 palms. Neji shouted as he rushed forward toward Shikamaru. The pony-tailed boy only stood there with that same look on his face as he watched Neji come over, and the Nara was immediately struck down by Neji's 64 palms technique, and he didn't even grunt in pain as Neji struck all the chakra points he targeted. Each strike sending a small jolt of chakra flying out of Shikamaru's body, signifying that he was unable to use it, and after about 10 seconds of poking the Nara, Neji delivered the final strike and sent Shikamaru flying backward, and the unconscious body of the Nara lands on the floor with a thud. His eyes closed and he laid still. Team 7, Anko, Asuma and Hiruzen, only shook their heads at how the match had ended before it even began. That guy really doesn't take being a shinobi seriously. Naruto thought with deadpan expression. If Shikamaru really doesn't want to be a ninja might as well quit. Sakura, who was in the same state as Naruto thought. He was serious about this being his last fight for a while. It might even be permanently with how hard the Hyuga hit him. Sasuke thought. Okay, is this kid the weakest out of the whole group or what? That Chompy, Choji or whatever the heck his name is was pretty easy, but this kid. He's not even academy student level with that attitude. Karin thought in shock. Alright, I give up on you Shikamaru. Asuma said under his breath. What the heck Shikamaru you lazy ass. Ino screamed at the top of her lungs. What the heck is wrong with this lazy kid? Anko said as she walked over to make sure he didn't die from Neji's attack. The medical team then arrived and scooped up the unconscious Nara as Anko walked over to Neji and raised his hand. The winner of this match against that lazy dude is Neji Hyuga from Konoha. Great job kiddo. Thank you, oh wise proctor. Neji said as he bowed respectfully. He then made his way back to join his team where Might Guy was crying tears of joy. Yosh. Excellent display of how youthful you are Neji. Yes. I wish to have a youthful match against an equally youthful opponent. Rock Lee exclaimed. Great job Neji. Tenten called out. Freaks. Neji said under his breath. The next hour or so of fights consisted of the really diverse and rather interesting matches. Ino, Choji and Shikamaru's female teammate, was pitted against a girl from Suna named Tamari, who was a great wind user, and the Yamanaka was beaten in literally a second and had to be hospitalized for obtaining severe gashes thanks to Tamari's use of the wind scythe technique. Rock Lee, who was Neji's teammate, went up against a genin from Odo named Dosu Kanuta and beat him with one swift punch, knocking the boy through the roof and sent him all the way back to his village. Sakura went up against Tenten and much like Karin, the Pinket's superior strategic mind allowed her to take down the bun-haired girl with a cleverly placed paper bomb used in conjunction with a substitution jutsu putting Tenten in critical, but not life-threatening situation. Hinata Hyuga was pitted against an unnamed Taki genin and beat him with a swift gentle fist. A few more genin who will not be named had their chance to fight until it was finally the time for the final round to begin and everyone knew who was fighting this one. There was also a girl from Tokigakure named Fu who was obviously a Jinchuriki like Naruto, and thanks to her abilities granted by her tailed beast, she beat Kiba and Yuzuka with ease. Woo. Finally. I get my time to shine. exclaimed a very excited Naruto. Anko looked up at the blonde and only shook her head in amusement as Naruto reminded her that she used to be just like that as a genin. Alright, can Naruto Uzumaki and Kabuto Yakushi come on down please? Before Naruto could leap over the railing, Karin had grabbed him by the arm preventing him from doing so, and this caught the blonde's attention as he was eager to get straight to fighting. What's wrong Karin? The blonde asked. It's just, good luck Naruto. Karin said, a slight blush appearing on her face and her eyes looking away. Naruto smiled tenderly at his friend. Thanks Karin. The blonde then leaped over the railing and landed beside Anko and his opponent, a slightly older teenager who was a few inches taller than Naruto with his gray hair put into a ponytail and round glasses from Konoha as well. The gray-haired guy eyed Naruto up and down and smiled at him. So you're my opponent? That little blonde kid that everyone likes to chase around our village. This will surely be an amusing fight. Kabuto chuckled. I've never seen you around the village before, how old are you? Naruto questioned. I'm turning 18 in 3 months, so 17. I think you never see me around Naruto because I'm usually out on missions with my team or doing some research, you see I am a medic nin, and I want to be the greatest there ever was. Answered Kabuto. Oh yeah? I'm training to become the greatest Hokage Konoha has ever known, and I'm going to climb one step up the ladder by first kicking your butt. The blonde declared proudly. The blonde's obvious and sheer determination made Kabuto laugh in amusement. Alright then, if you're so confident then I guess we can get this party started. Both boys took a step back and Anko raised a hand into the air. You two ready? Then begin. The battle between Naruto and Kabuto proved to be the most entertaining fight out all of them. Kabuto was revealed to be an incredibly skilled medical ninja and utilized a few paralysis jutsus to try and incapacitate the blonde but Naruto, thanks to some insight and training from Kakashi, continuously used his shadow clones to take the hits, saving himself from being taken out of the fight, and since Kabuto was not used to dealing with an opponent who had large reserves of chakra, he was tired out quickly in the fight, but nonetheless, he tried to keep up with Naruto's seemingly endless stamina. In short, it was an hour of a back and forth fight with each genin landing an equal amount of blows on each other. Naruto really proved to be a tough foe for Kabuto due to his speed and endless stamina, and the same can be said for Kabuto due to being a bit older, meaning more experience and more skilled in the basic ninja arts. Come on Naruto, kick his butt already, we're all falling asleep here. Karin shouted, hoping her words would get the blonde to pulverize Kabuto and end the fight. Kabuto thrusts his chakra-infused palm forward, hoping to hit Naruto right in the gut, but the blonde's slightly shorter stature enabled him to sidestep the attack, and he followed up by producing a shadow clone and grabs the clone's wrist and twirled around before throwing the clone at Kabuto, and this caught him by surprise. As the clone came flying at him at a high speed, the clone shot his fist out and hit the older boy right in the nose, breaking it and causing it to bleed. Ow, that really hurt Naruto. Kabuto said, rubbing his face. The gray-haired teen looks up to see a few more clones running up to him, and ignoring the bleeding he forms a scalpel out of chakra and began to slice his way through the clones to make his way toward Naruto, and once he did that the two teens began to charge each other, with Naruto holding 2 kunai knives in hand. Once they came within arm's reach of each other, they began to swing their blades at each other, matching one another move for move. The sounds of their blades clashing echoed across the room, and the way they were moving almost looked like they were dancing with each other. I've never seen anyone make blades out of chakra before. Sakura said. Yeah, me neither. Sasuke said, nodding his head. I have, it's really good for doing anatomical dissections. I've never really seen anyone back in Kusa use it offensively, but this Kabuto guy is really good with it, he's matching and blocking blows from a real kunai. Karin quipped. This guy may looks really nice and all, but I have a very bad feeling about him. Dang Blondie, for a younger genin you are good with ninjutsu. Kabuto said as he dodged a swing. Naruto only smirked at Kabuto and was glad his training with Kakashi was having a positive effect on him. Thanks, I have my sensei to thank for that, making me a great shinobi like he told me he would. The two genin then leap away from each other to get their spacing to plan their next set of moves. As always, everyone noticed that Naruto only had a few splotches of dust and sweat compared to Kabuto, who was dirty, had blood dripping from his nose, and appeared to be very out of breath. Haha, tired Kabuto. I'm not Konoha's hyperactive knuckleheaded ninja for nothing. Gloated the blonde before summoning an army of clones. Since you're so tired buddy, I'll just have my clones beat you unconscious so you can have a few days worth of rest. Naruto then summoned 10 clones, and they all began to swarm Kabuto, and not having as much stamina as his opponent, he was growing quite irritated that the blonde was not even tired one bit. Does this guy ever get tired, man? I might as well call it quits, because there's no way I'm beating this kid if he has this much stamina. Dispelling his chakra scalpels, Kabuto knew that there was no way Naruto was going to tire out, and since he appeared to be capable of summoning shadow clones non-stop, he decided to call it quits, not because he was afraid of being beaten, but because so he now understood the way Naruto fought, so that next time if they fought, he can take him down once he figured him out. He then raised his hand up and smiled at Anko, and right before the clones came to pulverizing him he spoke. "I'm done fighting, Proctor. I think an hour spectacle is good enough, don't you think?" Hearing what Kabuto had said, Naruto dispelled all his clones just before they struck Kabuto, and he had a look of confusion plastered on his face. "Wait, what? Why are you quitting, Kabuto? I was about to win." "You just don't tire out, Naruto. How can I possibly defeat someone with that much chakra and stamina like you? Seriously, I'm just wasting your time having a fight this long," Kabuto explained. Naruto only sweat dropped at Kabuto's half-assed response, but he guessed he could understand where the older boy was coming from. "I mean, I know I can keep fighting without breaking a sweat, so I can see where you're coming from, sort of. So? Are you calling it quits because you're scared, or are you calling it quits because you realized you can't beat Naruto in a prolonged fight?" Anko questioned incredulously. "The second option. Seriously, you see this guy's stamina, Proctor?" Kabuto said, pointing at Naruto. Anko merely shrugged before she declared Naruto the winner, and the two boys shook hands. "Nonetheless, it was a pretty fun fight, Naruto, but next time I'll be prepared, so you should prepare yourself for me, since I doubt it would be the same result like today," said Kabuto. "I look forward to it, Kabuto. Hopefully we can have a few spars if we see each other in Konoha." Kabuto smiled at the boy. "Hate to break it to you, Naruto, but I won't be in the village for a while, since I'm going on a mission to Atogakure to meet with their village leader, but I'll make sure to look for you once I get back." Oh well. Thanks for match, Kabuto." Kabuto then turned and began walking out the door, and the friendly smile he shot Naruto disappeared. "I think my associate will enjoy taking the Kyuubi's power for his own. Not to mention the Karin girl's healing abilities are out of this world, she could prove very useful," the gray-haired boy thought with a sinister smile. After everyone had settled, Hiruzen had all the victorious genin stand in a formation in front of him and the jonin in the front and looked onward proudly. "That was a splendid preliminary, everyone. You should all be proud because you all completed and took the next step to becoming a chunin. Now, with this portion out of the way and with the lower numbers of contestants, we can continue on with the final part of the exams, which has been traditionally a fighting tournament, but instead of just jumping right into it, you all get a whole month to train and perfect yourselves. Here is the new tournament bracket, Kakashi." Kakashi stepped up and produced a chart of who will be fighting who, and everyone took a moment to see who they were pitted against next. Naruto Uzumaki vs Fu. Karin vs Kintsuchi. Sasuke Uchiha vs Hinata Hyuga. Temari vs Sakura Haruno. Tenkuro vs Niji Hyuga. Rock Lee vs Gaara. "Looks like I'm fighting that brown girl from Taki," Naruto thought. "I'm up against that Temari girl, crap," Sakura thought in disappointment. Me against a Hyuga heiress, very interesting," Sasuke thought with a smirk. Karin raised her eyebrow upon seeing who her opponent was, the Solodo genin named Kin. "I'm against her." After the genin had taken a mental picture of the current bracket, Kakashi put the paper away and allowed Hiruzen to continue speaking. "Okay, now that you know your next opponent, I hope you all take the month to train hard. Training isn't the only reason we're giving you a month off. Since the foreign genin will be staying in Konoha, we hope you all take the chance to build new friendships and have camaraderie. Relations between all 5 villages have been okay at best, so this is a chance to improve by starting with genin. On May 31st, the final portion of the exams will begin at the stadium in the center of Konoha. I will happily see all of you again, and until then, good luck with your training. Foreign genin, you will be staying at Konoha's finest 5-star hotel free of charge. Farewell for now, everyone." Hiruzen dismissed everyone, and the genin who won their matches were seen talking with their jonin senseis. Since her sensei wasn't around, Karin was left all alone, but Naruto quickly rushed over to her and invited her to chat with his team. "Why are you here by yourself, Karin?" "Kakashi said you're his responsibility, so that means you should always be with us," said the blonde. I don't know still, maybe he's just saying that to be nice, and once the exams are over he'll get rid of me. Actually, that's quite wrong, Karin. You may think I'm just being nice about this, but in all honesty I have taken quite a liking to you. Kakashi said, the Jonin seemingly coming out nowhere spooking the blonde and reteed. Holy crap, don't scare us like that, Kakashi-sensei. Naruto said, holding his hand over his rapidly beating heart. Sorry kiddo, but anyway, during the whole preliminary thing I was thinking about asking the Hokage if you can be transferred to Konoha and become a shinobi with our village, since you mentioned before that Kusa doesn't really like you. Actually, I think it would be a lot better if you ask the Hokage yourself, Karin. Kakashi said. Karin went wide-eyed at Kakashi's suggestion, while Naruto was inwardly jumping for joy. Sasuke and Sakura were a bit annoyed since they knew if Karin was to become a Konoha Kunoichi, they'd have to deal with the two of them constantly bickering, which would eventually drive them insane. Are you sure the Hokage would let me become a Konoha Kunoichi? I mean, our villages are merely trading partners at best, and we don't really cooperate outside of that. Kakashi nodded. I'm sure, just be confident. Come on, let's head back to Konoha and you can tell his secretary that you would like to speak with him. With that, the team left the forest altogether and everyone made their way back to Konoha. On Hagakure, Hokage's tower. Here's the Hokage's office, young lady. Hiruzen's secretary said, pointing at the door. Thank you very much. Karin bowed respectfully to the older woman and knocked 3 times on the door. Come on. Recognizing the voice as Hiruzen's, Karin swallowed a load of spit before placing her hand on the doorknob and began to turn the door open slowly. She peeked her head into the office and saw the Hokage sitting at his desk writing into a book of sorts. Looking up, Hiruzen saw a tuft of red hair and instantly recognized it as Karin's. Ah, Karin, please come on. He said, motioning for her to walk toward him. Hello Lord Hokage. Karin greeted shyly. The girl's shyness was enough to make Hiruzen chuckle inwardly and he returned her greeting with a big smile. Hello Karin, what is it that you wanted to talk to me about? It's well. Her mannerisms are just like Kushina's whenever she was shy about something. Remember what Naruto said about me? How we met in the forest? Yes. About the Iwa team that tried to have their way with you? What they did is not tolerated. Yes, killing is normal in the Chunin exams, but stuff like that is different. You told me Naruto saved you, yes? Yeah, and also, back in my village, Kusa. I was used and abused from almost the entire shinobi force there, I had no friends, and even my village head hates me and spat on me. I told Naruto about this, and he said something that made me want to talk to you the moment the opportunity presented itself. Karin continued. I see, and what is this something you want to tell me? Hiruzen asked, getting an idea where this was going. Karin took in a deep breath before she continued. I would like to make a request to become a Kunoichi of your village. Hiruzen knew this was coming, judging from the way she was speaking, and he smiled tenderly at the girl. He could tell her stories weren't fabricated to seem like a miserable girl, and he knew from what he had heard about her life in Kusa, she would live a much better one here in Konoha. I made the effort to send my personal summon to Kusa to ask about you, Karin, and your village head said there was never anyone named Karin in their registration. When my summon told me that, I felt angered and I knew that you would live a better life here in my village. So of course, you can become a Kunoichi of Konoha, and to make that request even better, I'm going to put you on the same team as Naruto, and you can live with him. Hiruzen said. A big smile formed on Karin's face, and before she could begin to jump for joy, she remembered the second thing Hiruzen had said, and she blushed at the thought of it. Wait, I get to live with Naruto? Of course, Naruto lives on his own, and I help pay for his rent and utilities. I'm sure he would be overjoyed find out I made you his roommate. Hiruzen chuckled. He saved me from those Iwa weirdos and basically introduced me to you, Lord Hokage. I'm really happy I get to live with him because I doubt I'd be able to handle being on my own again like in Kusa. Karin said. I'm very sorry to hear that, just hearing things like this makes me want to never be involved with Kusa again, but that would be un-Hokage-like of me. I have my own question to ask you, Karin, if you don't mind. What is it? That healing jutsu you did to yourself during your fight with Choji, I'm nearing 70 and I've never seen a jutsu like that before. Is it some sort of Kekkei Genkai of yours? Hiruzen questioned. Why yeah, I guess you can say that. Karin answered nervously. Her nervousness disappeared when she saw Hiruzen smiling warmly at her once more. Ah, I see then, well here's Naruto's address and your Konoha headband. I'm honored to have had Naruto introduce us as well as have you become one of us. I appreciate it, this Lord Hokage, it really means a lot that you're taking me in. Karin said, bowing. Of course, who am I to leave a foreign Kunoichi with no home out there in the world? Just like Naruto, I help those in need. Karin tied on her Konoha headband and looked in at her reflection in the window and admired how nice it looked compared to Kusa's. After doing Hiruzen signed a file and filled it out with Karen's information and then took a quick snapshot of her for her Konoha ID before she took both items and bid the Hokage farewell and exited to office to find Naruto's apartment. Naruto's apartment. Ooh man. I can finally enjoy some ramen after being in that crazy forest. Naruto exclaimed excitedly as he watched his cup of ramen being heated in the microwave. He then heard a knock on the door. I'm coming. The blonde then opened the door and was greeted by the sight of his reteed friend. Hey Karin. How did it go with the old man? Karin smiled at the blonde and pointed at her new headband, took out her new ID and document signed by Hiruzen, and Naruto damn near screamed in joy. Wow. Old man really made you a Kenwaichi of the Leaf. Yep. He understood where I was coming from and saw that I was not safe in Kusa, so he told me I'm better off living here. To make things even better, he told me I'll be living with you. On top of that, he also said I'll be part of your team. Karin explained. That is awesome. Naruto practically shouted at the top of his lungs and enveloped Karin in a crazy tight hug, nearly crushing the girl. Ow. Naruto. Hug, too tight. Karin gagged. Oh. Sorry Karin, I hope I didn't hurt you. Naruto said apologetically as he set her down. Anyway, I'm glad you're my roommate. I could use the company whenever I don't see Sasuke, Sakura or Kakashi sensei. Good, now that you have me living with you, I'm the boss now. Karin said, adjusting her glasses which had a small glint in them. The tone in her voice made Naruto shiver, and the aura she was projecting was similar to when she strangled him with her weird chain things. He knew that he had to give in, but this was his apartment, dang it. Wait, this apartment is under my name, so you can't do that. He was right, this apartment is under his name, and if she acted up she could get them both in trouble and they might get evicted, so she knew she couldn't lay claim to the whole apartment. Yeah, you're right Naruto, I'm sorry. Karin said, giving in. Awesome. I have only one bed obviously, so you can crash on the couch. Naruto said, pointing at the furniture. She knew that she couldn't lay claim to his apartment, but there was one thing she could lay claim to just for this one night. The notion of him saying she can crash on the couch insulted her, and she wondered where his manners went since they got back from the tower. Reaching into her pouch, she took out a small bottle of pink perfume and pointed the nozzle at Naruto. What are you doing with that, Karin? Naruto's question was answered a second later when Karin pressed down on the spraying mechanism and a huge blast of the pink cosmetic sprayed all over Naruto. It smelled pleasant, but the blonde soon felt dizzy and fell over, his eyes replaced by swirls, and he was drooling slightly. Never tell a lady to sleep on the couch, Naruto, you must offer the bed to her and take the couch for yourself. Karin said in a matter-of-fact tone. Redeed left Naruto dazed on the floor and went into his room and locked it. She then hopped onto the bed. The moment she landed on his bed, she took in a big whiff of his blanket. She then walked over to his laundry basket and took one of his used jackets, and much like the blanket, she took an even bigger whiff of it and sighed in utter content. He smells really good. She thought with a massive blush. She then tucked the jacket as best as she could into her pouch and went to bed. Thanks for watching. See you in movie 2.